Well, what an exciting start of the football match that was, and we disappeared for a few moments. But we are back with you. Apologies for that interruption. And you are once again live here on BBC Radio London on 94.9 FM, DAB Digital Radio and BBC Sounds. What a great start. It's 0-0 by the way, and Arsenal have it on the halfway line with Trossard. And he is going to drill it out wide to Saka on that right-hand side. Saka runs at the edge of the penalty area, moves in field, uses Eze. He's going to dink it over the top. Rice, save! And the follow-up goes wide! I think it might have come off Marino. Was it Danso who got the final block? Declan Rice volleyed it from 12 yards. It was saved, and the rebound nearly went in.
Yeah, sweeping move down Arsenal's right-hand side, across field. Brilliant from Eze. Maybe Rice should have scored over his right shoulder. Volleyed attempt straight at the Spurs keeper, and off the rebound, an early corner here from this right-hand side that Saka will take for the home team.
Just seeing the Rice volley again. He hit it so sweetly, saved by the legs of the goalkeeper Vicario. Here's the corner, first of the game. Raises his right arm and then just clips it left-footed towards the near post, headed over the top by Timber.
Might have done better actually. He had his back to goal. He was level with the near post when the ball drifted in from Saka's delivery, and any glancing touch might have been on the target.
Bit of a pause while Vicario takes this. Just to confirm, I don't know if you were actually listening to us when we said that Romero was the centre of the three centre halves, but he is Van der Ven on the left and Danso on the right. This is headed forward once again, and Marino goes scampering after it, hooked away by Romero, and had a play on the far side for a throw. It goes back into the Arsenal back line with Piero Nkapie making his first Premier League start on a day like this. Comes to this near side of the field, and Timber rolled all the way back into the feet of Saliba, and Arsenal playing keep ball at the moment. Moves to this right side now, and Marino moves over halfway. Saka with it, gets held up into Timber just on the edge of the Tottenham box. Back to Saka again. They've had one big chance, Arsenal, but Rice couldn't convert. It's guided back to Zubamendi, and Marino again down the right looking for Saka, but out of play on the near side for a throw.
Really strong start, Nick. Nearly 5 minutes in, possession, confidence, moving the ball. There's been rotation already. Declan Rice and Eze are sort of pulling the two Spurs pivots, Paulinho and Bentancur, out of position, and they're overloading the side and pushing these wing backs back towards the Spurs goal in these opening stages.
Let's bring in Harry Symeou after 5 minutes of play. Any thoughts on what we've seen and some of us have heard so far?
Yeah, I mean, just going back to that Declan Rice chance, it was a big opportunity, but I want to highlight the invention from Eze on the edge of the penalty area, because when the ball comes to him, there's a crowd scene, and you can't really see how he's going to slip it through, and he just sort of scoops it over the top of the defender to tee up Declan Rice. That's what he was brought into the team to do. He's not playing the same position that Martin Odegaard does. When he's in the side, he plays more like an 8/10, whereas Eberechi Eze is very much a number 10 in this Arsenal side, and he will look to make things happen on the edge of the box, just like he did then.
Out of play on the far side for a throw. Inside the Tottenham half of the field. Spurs, a reminder, playing with three at the back and wing backs, so we haven't seen Udogie and Spence exactly advanced so far, Bradley, but maybe that was always going to be the case in the beginning of a North London derby at Arsenal. They were always going to have to soak up some pressure.
Yeah, and I think as well, you know, already in moments when the ball's gone off the pitch and the restarts, a throw in, a goal kick, Spurs have been in no rush, and that has not allowed, you know, completely Arsenal and the crowd to you know, get up. Again, it's gone out here. Spurs can take their time, set up, maybe even work something into that Arsenal penalty box themselves, but that's all part of the game plan, I believe, this afternoon.
Yeah, it's all very much the way that Thomas Frank Well, I say Thomas Frank likes to do things. He's comfortable in that situation. Foul by Van de Ven on Marino, deep inside Arsenal territory. No extra sanction from Michael Oliver, who, just a reminder, is the referee who sent Lewis Skelly off against Wolves and hasn't refereed an Arsenal game since. I think the disappointing thing of all that is that the Premier League have allowed Michael Oliver not to referee an Arsenal game for so long, and then brought him back for this one.
A couple of challenges, just got a few of the fans off their feet. Firstly Van de Ven on Marino, and then Richarlison on Eze.
It's at the back with Nkapie once again, selected as the left-sided centre-half, and a long ball forward that looks for Timber, goes over his head. Udogie hesitates momentarily. Saka gets at him, cleared away by Vicario, only as far as Eze though. And Arsenal have won this back high up the pitch. Here's Timber, forward to Saka on the edge of the box, tries to funnel it forward, but it's cleared away as far as Zubamendi. Zubamendi guides it back to Saliba, and now back to Saka, who's onside, down the right hand side. Little dink ball headed away by Palhinha, only as far as Timber, who lifts it up into the air, headed away by Spence. There are all sorts of red shirts trying to dig this out, and they do in the end. Rice, Calafiori, fit enough to start today, under pressure from Kudus, but manages to find Trossard. Arsenal starting to buzz all over Tottenham here, with 8 minutes gone in the first half at 0-0 on BBC Radio London. Here's Trossard on that left-hand side, spins away from his man and walks in field, tries to pick out a run from Nkapie, who got forward, but they couldn't find him. It drops to Rice, and Saliba has it on the halfway line. Back to the new Arsenal signing, who lifts it forward. Timber makes a dash into the penalty area, half cleared away by Spence, and then Danso under pressure hooks it up into the air. It's going to drop for a shot that flies behind. No, doesn't it? Flies into the arms of Vicario. Actually, the shot from Marino was deflected and quite tame in the end.
A relentless minute or two there from Arsenal. Even when the ball was initially cleared outside of the Tottenham Hotspur penalty box, they won it back, they recycled, they went again, and Spurs are just defending pretty much. They can't keep the ball. They're barely crossed the halfway line, in all honesty, with nearly 10 minutes on the clock, Nick.
Yes, it's been all Arsenal so far. I'm sure the heat map, or whatever they're producing to understand how this is all working, would show Arsenal very much concentrated in the Tottenham half of the field. Steered away by Romero and collected by Kudus, who moves forward. Again, Spurs stuck in their own half. Thomas Frank trying to get some instructions onto the field of play, but it has been all Arsenal so far, and Declan Rice has forced the first save from Vicario. This goes out for a Tottenham throw. Down in front of the Spurs technical area, we sit halfway between the Tottenham corner flag and the halfway line, at the back of the lower tier of the Emirates Stadium, watching Kudus try and help this on, but Mikel Arteta scurries across to keep the ball alive and give it to Jurrien Timber on this near side of the field. The Arsenal fans still bouncing. They come into this game in resolutely good form. There was disappointment about the 2-2 draw against Sunderland, but before that it was 10 wins in a row in all competitions, including 6 Premier League wins in a row, 5 home games won in a row in all competitions as well. They couldn't be in much better form to run into Tottenham in the North London derby. Out of play for a throw on the far side to Spurs inside their own half of the field. No real sign of Spurs springing the counter yet, Brad.
No, not yet, and I think Trossard and Saka in moments have had 1v1 against the Spurs wing-backs this afternoon, are pushing them back. You know, it was Danso actually that had to go across on the cover. Trossard showed good strength, and Arsenal continue to press, squeeze, and force Spurs just turning the ball over rather cheaply at the moment.
Yes, it is still 0-0, but it is still all Arsenal, and now there's an Arsenal player who's gone down injured on the far side of the field. It's probably Leandro Trossard, and indeed it is. Just going to watch the challenge from Palhinha. He won the ball and then he kind of banged knees with the Tottenham midfielder on loan from Bayern Munich, and it is Trossard who came off the worst. That must be quite painful, Bradley, when your knees collide.
Yeah, cold
like
afternoon, bone to bone.
Crunch.
They can be quite sore. He's picked himself up with physio. He's scampering across to the far side of the pitch, and the referee's allowing the former Brighton winger a little bit of treatment here. But again, another stoppage. Spurs will be grateful for that at the moment.
Yeah, just to kind of punctuate Arsenal's rhythm, I suppose, really, Harry. They have started as though all of those statistics that I've just read out, very much in the moment for that.
Yeah, for sure. Arsenal look to start the game aggressively. As you guys mentioned, they've been squeezing, they've been pressing, and they're trying to keep Tottenham pinned back. It's going to be interesting to see whether Leandro Trossard can shake this off, because I think when Arsenal have faced low blocks, which is what they're facing at the moment here, he's been so key in terms of opening them up. He's not the quickest, he's not going to run in behind the same way that someone like Gabriel Martinelli might, but his invention, his ability to score goals, and his creativity has been really, really important. Looks as though he's going to be okay, and fingers crossed he is.
Game's back underway, still 0-0. Danso clearing as they try to pick out Marino on that left-hand side. Don't think I've mentioned Richarlison's name yet, really, as touching the ball. We've had 13 minutes or so, but this may all be part of Spurs' plan as Danso heads it away. Odegaard beaten in the air by Timber. Comes back out to Calafiori, who gets Marino away down that left-hand side. That's another firm challenge by Palhinha. The Spurs fans on the far side enjoyed that. And it is still 0-0, and it is still Arsenal locked inside that Tottenham half of the field. The game is kind of frozen in aspic in this situation at the moment. Arsenal unable to find their way through, Spurs unable to break out. Here's Calafiori's throw. Stretched there by Zubamendi to find Calafiori again. The cross is deflected up in the air. Richarlison stops it from going out for a corner. Kudus under pressure by his own corner flag. It's not the best clearance, but it's hit an Arsenal player. Cappier tried to bring it under his spell, and in the end just deflected it out for what's going to be a goal kick for Guillermo Vicario to take. 14 minutes played at the Emirates on the home of London football in the 198th North London derby, and the Spurs fans relishing the fact that they have kept Arsenal at bay for this long.
A beautiful word that you used. The game has been punctuated, and we're nearly 15 minutes in, Nick. Pretty forgetful.
Yeah, there's
perfect for Spurs.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you said about the game plan. Well, this is it.
This is the game. We're
this is it.
Yeah,
it's not pretty. Another free kick, another stoppage, and all of a sudden, the frustration might start to develop amongst the masses of home faithful and the Arsenal players and coach.
Well, there's been nothing created by Spurs as yet, but there might now, because there's a free kick on the halfway line. And we've talked about Arsenal's prowess from set pieces. 10 set piece goals so far this season. Tottenham are no slouches in this regard either, so we'll see how this goes. Left arm raised by Vicario. Free kick on the halfway line. Drops into the Arsenal penalty area. Danso rises, heads it up in the air, but gathered by Raya. They want to get on with it, Arsenal here, although Christian Romero and Mickey van der Ven have done their level best to make sure Raya cannot release. Arteta's furious about it.
Yeah, he wants a quick restart while some of those Spurs defensive players were up the pitch for that free kick, and they were out of balance perhaps, and Raya would have launched the ball forward and almost tried to catch Tottenham out.
Yeah, a right go at the fourth official there, the Arsenal manager. Michael Salisbury's going to get quite a bit of that, I think, from the coaching staffs over the course of the afternoon. But no big moments since that Declan Rice volley that was saved by the feet of Vicario. Maybe he should have done a bit better. Timber tries to find Rice. Calafiori pops up, central position. The clearance by Van der Ven, and he absolutely bounces off Calafiori. The referee says get up, and now the advantage is waived as Nkapie's fouled. But Rice gets it wide to Trossard. Floats a high cross over everybody. Brilliantly brought under control by Saka on the corner of the Tottenham penalty area, and then Udogi's picked his pocket and fouled him in the process. Thomas Frank barking and raging at Michael Oliver on the edge of his technical area.
Well,
he's livid about that.
I know Harry perfectly teed up about Mr. Michael Oliver being back in town for this North London derby. Well, he needs to get ready because he's been called into action for the first time in this one.
Yeah, Thomas, I mean, you don't see Thomas Frank rage like that very often. He was marching down the pitch, furious.
Both ways, Nick. There were skirmishes, and he tried to play advantage and understand the occasion, the referee. Could there have been a free kick for firstly Arsenal and then Spurs? Potentially. But Arsenal have got a free kick here with Saka in such fine form, in a really dangerous position.
Now it's the bus stop routine for Arsenal, so there's a queue of them beyond the far post. This free kick's wide on the Arsenal right, about 25 yards from goal, but I'm not sure Saka's going to shoot from here. He'll dink this in, and we'll see what the bus line do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them. And now they're all on the move, running across the edge of the 6-yard box. He does go for goal, and he floats it over the top. Not sure Vicario was too worried about it. It didn't dip late. It's like Strictly Come Dancing, these set pieces, isn't it, for Arsenal? No, look at them trotting across the 6-yard box. What a carry on, Bradley.
Absolutely. Just overstruck that one a fraction. Saka, Vicario to his right, probably would have had it covered as well. But Spurs get away with it.
Vicario to clear Harry Symeou that they continue to surprise us, these Arsenal set-piece coaches.
Yeah, I don't know how they keep coming up with new ideas, to be honest with you, Nick. Tottenham on the attack here.
Yeah, here's Udogie down the left-hand side. He's has he been given a little nudge there by Saka? No, says the referee.
He bumped him. Definite foul there. Spurs should have had a free kick.
We're much further away than Michael Oliver, but he gave that long ball forward that Romero has to deal with, and he deals it very well under pressure from Eze.
I'm just getting you ready. Something's going to happen in a minute involving our referee this afternoon. There's going to be a decision. You watch. Right. Something important, controversial. He's just starting to spice up this one.
Yeah, he's going to be called into action. The managers are fully engaged. The crowd is fully engaged. We are fully engaged. Now Richarlison is caught on the halfway line by Nkapie. It's a free kick to Tottenham again. Another one perhaps for Vicario to stick into the mixer. Or is he going to leave this for Romero? No, it's going to be a Vicario. I wonder where this is going, Bradley. Can you tell? All the Janso prowling forward, Romero prowling forward, Van de Ven.
Quite simply, just territory. That's where it's going.
He's taking his time, Vicario again. The Arsenal fans not happy with that. Here's the delivery. Danso the target once more. Danso gets the first header, drops to Palhinha. He tried to set it there for Romero, but Arsenal have won it back, and Timber has volleyed it away, and Audebert and Spence scamper back into Tottenham territory to stop Trossard's counter-attack. But Trossard has done very well to just push Spurs back into their own half of the field. It is a Spence throw, but Trossard there winding up the crowd. As I said, everybody is engaged, and you just wonder when this game, which is currently very much in the yellow, that's where you want it in the yellow, it could just tip over into the red. Not yet. Rice hooks it high. Marino the target. Ended up in the air by Romero, but not clear. Has another chance to get that ball away. Udogie sends it forward. Cut out by Eze, and then Eze wins 2 challenges, 3 challenges. In goes Kudus. Digs it out for Udogie, and then Richarlison tries to release Audebert down the left. Zubamendi on the cover. Back it goes to Raya. We are seeing, Bradley, a little bit more from Spurs as we enter the 21st minute.
Yeah, ever so slightly. A couple of connections through to Richarlison and Kudus, who in 1v1s has been strong and sort of connected the ball a little bit better. That's allowed Spurs a degree of form of momentum, but certainly not a cross, a shot on the Arsenal goal.
Nothing quite like that.
Not that exciting.
No. We should dial down the rhetoric a little bit there. We're all getting carried away. 21 minutes play. This is BBC Radio London. We're live at the Emirates this afternoon, and it is still all square, but Arsenal have had that one chance through Declan Rice. A reminder, there's more live football this week on the home of London football on Tuesday evening on digital radio. Stoke against Charlton in the Championship on Wednesday. PSG against Spurs from the Parc des Princes. Awful lot of great football coverage to come on all our radio frequencies over the course of the next 7 days or so. A reminder, you can get all the reaction from yesterday's EFL coverage of our sides on BBC Radio London, on BBC Sound. Just put the name of your EFL club you support into BBC Sounds, Queen's Park Rangers, Leyton Orient, Bromley, Barnet, and you'll get all the latest from those clubs. And if you subscribe, they'll immediately appear on your phone for you to listen to interviews and updates whenever you are ready to consume them. Here is Kevin Danso on the right hand side for Tottenham Hotspur inside his own half of the field. One of three centre halves for Tottenham today. Back it goes to Vicario. He's going to clip this forward towards the halfway line. Richarlison goes to ground but manages to hold it up, and Kudus bustles forward into Audebert, turns and runs at goal. He's approaching the edge of the Arsenal box. It's come off Rice, breaks into the penalty area, volleyed away by Nkapie towards the halfway line. Spurs attack line looked a little bit interested there for a few moments. That's a foul by Udogie. Oh no, it isn't a foul by Udogie on the halfway line. It's a throw in to Spurs.
It's just gritty, isn't it? It's just so stop-start. You know, there's been very little rhythm and flow, in all honesty, and this is not actually football in its beautiful version. However, hey, it might get points on the board for a certain team this afternoon.
North London derbies come in many forms. Some of them are beautiful, some of them are not beautiful. This falls very much into the latter category at the moment, and some of them are ghastly. Some of them are just, you know, you can barely watch them because of all the drama. Again, that I wouldn't say this has fallen into that category as yet. So Spurs relatively pleased, Harry, so far. Do Arsenal need to persevere or come up with new ideas?
Yeah, I think they need to persevere. I think they've shown many times over the last couple of seasons that in games like this, when they're struggling to find a breakthrough, they just got to keep doing what they're doing, and eventually they'll hope to wear the opponent down. You know, Tottenham have done a really good job of, as you've really well put, you know, just stopping and starting the game as much as possible. The Michael Oliver thing, we've touched on it a couple of times. I just don't think they've made a good decision putting him in for this game, because it just brings every decision into question because of that history. They could have quite easily given him a game before this, a little bit less high profile, to get that sort of story out of the way. Now you've got a home crowd here who are going to jump up for everything, maybe even more so than they would normally because of that scenario. But Arsenal knocking the ball around at the moment, and they're going to look to try and pull that back three, those three centre halves apart, and exploit those half spaces. That'll be the idea. Whether they can pull it off or not remains to be seen.
Calafiori and Eze combined inside the Spurs half, but Spencer's got a stop to that, and then Calafiori has clipped Jed Spencer's heels. It's going to be a free kick to Tottenham inside their own half of the field. And, that's I'm absolutely staggered to notice that they're in no hurry to take it, Bradley.
Well, it's far too early, Nick, for either to consider or even go to, is this the playbook that stops Arsenal from winning the title? Because
everyone will pay attention to this.
Certain Chelsea fans and certain Man City fans, maybe they might consider it moving forward in the coming weeks and months.
I'm sure,
because there could be a movement that builds. Just stop them. Just stop them from winning the title. And is this the way? I don't know, but as Harry said, you know, they are the real deal, Arsenal. They're the business, and they've got the quality here, and they would have overcome challenges of this nature before now, and this sort of challenge.
25 minutes gone. Arsenal 0, Tottenham 0. Tottenham have not really fashioned much, really anything at all, in the final third of the field. Arsenal have had one chance. Declan Rice. Here's Timber on the right hand side, shut down by Audebert. Back to Zubamendi playing alongside Declan Rice in front of the back four. No Gabriel today for Arsenal. It's worth reminding everybody. Drilled forward by Zubamendi, looking for a run from Timber or from Saka. And then Odeberg gets kind of boxed in on this near side, goes back to Van de Ven and to Vicario, who's going to play it out to Kevin Danso, and Spence on the touchline. And Danso's very nearly caught in possession by Rice, but it rolls away and out of play for a goal kick that Guillermo Vicario is going to be in no hurry to take. And yeah, the pattern is clear now. Unless something different happens, we're just getting the chance to watch the Rice volley again. It was straight at Vicario, but that's the only chink of light really so far in this game from an Arsenal perspective. Here goes Van de Ven, bulldozing run forward, only as far as Nkapie on the halfway line, runs into Udogie, and then back to Saliba. And it's all Tottenham just trying to get rid of it, and Arsenal having to reclaim the ball, reset themselves, reorganise, and try and work out a way through. No Gyökeres, of course, for Arsenal, no Havertz, no one other than dear old Mikel Merino, who can play up front, really. Still no Gabriel Jesus as well, of course, so once again it falls to Merino, who is not a centre forward, to operate in that environment. But it's a challenge he accepts. I don't think it's a challenge he seeks out, Harry.
No, and you can see that's been a bit of a problem for Arsenal so far, because Mikel Merino is a midfielder, so it's in his nature to drop deep, to go looking for the ball, and that means Arsenal have no focal point. And so it's all good working the ball wide and creating those 1v1s versus the wing-backs, but when you get to the point of delivery, if there's nobody in there, it's very, very difficult to do so,
and
to do anything.
Yeah, it's a great point that Harry's making. Spurs have got their back five intact, haven't they?
Yeah.
They've not been moved.
They're three units to get round, they really are. Here's Richarlison running from deep inside his own half. Kudus takes over, it goes back into that back three, and Van de Ven, Udogie rolls it forward. Richarlison again manages to offload to Kudus. He glides in field, he's had it taken away from him by William Saliba. You wonder if at some point one of those little runs from Kudus might be able to winkle his way through, but not yet.
He's looked quite sharp, not really had too much of the ball, starved with it really, but he's got to change the direction, and he's certainly been strong upon receiving it on a couple of occasions so far in this one. But Spurs actually have shown really good discipline in the banks of players that they've put back behind the ball, and they're very, very compact.
Trossard into the box of Tottenham for Calafiori. Set now for Rice, corner of the penalty area. In comes the cross, headed away by Van de Ven. Drops to Timber, whose volley smacks into Odeberg and bounces out of the box. Here's Richarlison trying to get the better of Timber. Timber's too strong for him. Here come Arsenal again. This is nodded away by Sakho. It's come back to Timber in the penalty area. Brilliant recovery by Van de Ven. Got his backside in the way of Timber as he bared down on goal, and Vicario able to grab it.
Well, that's why you have a back three. And the left of that Van de Ven, he used all his qualities there, just as Timber tried to, on that headed through pass, break into the right half space position in the Tottenham Hotspur penalty box, but the cover, the strength from Van de Ven was exceptional.
But that's what it's going to take, whether it's the fullbacks or someone from midfield, to make those runs into the box as an extra man. That's what Arsenal need in order to create those scenarios. You saw Calafiori on the left side make the run forward from left back at the start of the move, and it was Timber that went through. So Arsenal need to be a little bit more creative in their runs, but they'll be wary of Spurs on the break. I suppose that's what's in the back of their minds.
Yeah, well, that's what Kudus and Odeberg sort of set up for. Also, I don't know whether this is a factor as this goes out of play for a throw-in to Tottenham, high up the pitch actually. That Tottenham penalty box is going to get very congested. If you've got Arsenal players overlapping and overloading, creating the extra man, then you've got three centre-halves in there, plus Palhinha and Bentancur trying to tidy up. Yeah. There's no room.
No, there's not. But there's a dearth of substitutes away to our left-hand side.
Yeah, they're all in the way of Danso.
Tottenham through Richarlison have won a throw-in.
Yes, and
Kevin's going to launch this one in.
And those Arsenal substitutes have had to sort of part like a theatre curtain for Danso to stride in the middle. There's all sorts going on in the penalty area already. Here's Danso's throw into the box. It's a real scramble, and the referee spotted something. There was a
Romero
push in there
on Merino.
That was Tottenham's most positive moment so far. A long throw into the box that immediately drew a free kick against the attacking team, but it's still 0-0, and I don't think too many people on that Spurs bench are currently worried about the match situation. In fact, I'm pretty certain of it, actually. Thomas Frank sat down for a few moments here. He hasn't sat down all game. He's got up now that I've mentioned it. But yeah, some relatively content Tottenham coaches down there, I think, even though it has been all Arsenal in this opening 32 minutes. But it is 0-0. Here's Marino, plays it forward to Saka, bit of space for him to operate in. Is he going to be able to get past Van der Ven? He's been hauled down by Bentancur and a yellow card. That's the simplest decision that Michael Oliver's going to make all game.
Yeah, twinkle toes from Saka. He was up against two, but a little drop of the shoulder, change and transfer of body weight across the line of Bentancur, and the Uruguayan pulled him down. He was sent off midweek, wasn't he, as well, on international duty. He's on a yellow card. Free kick. He had one in a similar position, Saka, that he just put over the bar. He'll be aiming for better delivery on this one.
He was sent off for Uruguay against Mauricio Pochettino's United States of America during the week, so he's a bit of a discipline-strewn few days. But here's a free kick in a very similar position. Once again, the bus stop routine is in place. This one's fractionally further out for Saka, I think. But those Arsenal players are all lined up in a row beyond the far post. There's then a line of Spurs players across the 6-yard box. Here goes Saka. He's going to try and witness again. It's a flying save by Vicario. Gets two good hands to it, pushes it away from danger. Every time I think Saka isn't going to shoot from that range, that is exactly what he does, but Vicario is equal to it. Arsenal have won this back, being urged on by their support. Calafiori down the left-hand side. Trossard takes over, scored the winner in the last North London derby here last season, Leandro Trossard. But another shot on target for the Gunners. Vicario equal to it. Again, Thomas Frank will just say, well, our goalkeeper's got to play well today if we're going to win.
Absolutely. You know, he has at times across this season shown his qualities, and that's certainly his strength. Vicario, shot stopping, took no chances, flying to his right, palmed it away to safety.
Now here is an Arsenal long throw from Calafiori into the box, headed away by Richarlison, comes out to Eze, 30 yards from goal. Zubamendi gets it back out to Calafiori, crosses early, Trossard brings it under control, hooks it into the 6-yard box, up in the air from Marino and gathered by Vicario. Once again, there's very little room, and there's so many players in the box, Bradley.
Yeah, no, the discipline again, they just sort of helped it on Arsenal, didn't they, into, you know, a dangerous area, but Van der Ven and Vicario stood firm, but Arsenal are just sort of picking a bit of momentum up here and just sensing that they could get themselves a favourable chance before that half-time whistle, and the crowd are sensing it.
Yeah, they had a phase when Tottenham were a little bit more expansive and Arsenal drew back a little, but that's old news now. Arsenal on the front foot. Saliba rolls it back to Nkapie on the halfway line. Bustling, intense atmosphere at the Emirates. Spurs fans a little quiet on the far side. Thomas Frank trying to get his instructions on as to how Spurs can continue to hold the line. Here's Eze on the right, goes back to the halfway line, and Saliba, Rice goes back to Nkapie once again on the halfway line. Tottenham showing no real urge to close him down, so Arsenal can move forward. With Saliba again, no way through. Bentancur comes and slams the door. Rice inside the centre circle. Tottenham retreating further. Saliba strides forward, chased by Bentancur. Back to Nkapie.
I think the only thing, Nick, with this, and we've often seen it against the top sides, and Arsenal won, is that defensive fatigue that you suffer, you know, in terms of concentration when you start to allow the other team so much ball.
Oh, and Trossard's broken the line. Here's a chance! It's rolled in! The flag stays down! Arsenal take the lead, and it's Leandro Trossard with 9 minutes to go to the interval. The ball was dinked into the 18-yard area, and Spurs switched off. Trossard tracked the run, stayed onside, and somehow managed to force it over the line. First blood to the Gunners in the North London derby. Arsenal 1, Tottenham 0.
Well, we teed up about Arsenal's spell, and Harry said exactly that about Trossard earlier in the game. Clever movement in off the line, off that left-hand side. The pass was brilliant, dinked over the shoulder. He's timed his run into the penalty box towards the penalty spot brilliantly. The touch was behind him. He swiveled. He didn't get the best of contact, but Vicario was on the ground. He went to the goalie's right-hand side and into that bottom left-hand corner to give Arsenal an all-important lead.
I think as the ball's dinked in by Marino, Trossard swivels and Van de Ven comes in to block it, and Van de Ven's challenge actually takes it beyond Vicario. I think Vicario would have had a chance to save it, but as Van de Ven slides in to try and stop Trossard from shooting, it changes the direction of the ball, and that's what beats Vicario and puts Arsenal in front.
Yeah, there was an ever so slight deflection there as he slid in, Van de Ven, and that's the deciding factor. But just those last couple of minutes, they were impressive for Arsenal, and a chance was probably coming their way, and Trossard importantly has given them that. They're sweeping forward again here.
Here comes Calafiori on that left-hand side, the red shirt swarming forward. Calafiori's overhit that cross dramatically. So, for Spurs, Bradley, plan A's in the bin. They're going to have to be a little bit more adventurous.
Well, plan B is, falling behind. Don't concede a second here before half-time. I think that's vitally important from a Tottenham Hotspur's perspective. And at some stage now, they certainly have to chase, open this game up, and so some attacking threat. Because up to now, they've offered very little in that regard.
Palhinha on the halfway line, dispossessed by Rice. Arsenal coming forward once again, looking for what would be potentially a knockout blow for Arsenal as this first half comes to a close. Harry Symeou's with us, and perseverance did work in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were talking a few minutes ago about Mikel Merino just vacating that centre forward space, coming that little bit deeper. He did that to great effect on that occasion, because his pass for Trossard is incredible. It's all good vacating that space, but someone has to step in and fill it, and that's what Leandro Trossard did off that left-hand side. Great movement, smart movement. A little bit fortunate with the way the finish came about with the deflection, but Arsenal have deserved that, because they've been pushing harder. They've had the lion's share of possession, and I'm sure Guillermo Vicario is going to take those goal kicks a little bit quicker now for what remains.
Yes, there'll be a little more urgency. Calafiori down that left-hand side once again for Arsenal. With the back heel to find Trossard. Trossard then only finds Kudus. Kudus earns a free kick. He was caught as he tried to clear. Arsenal 1, Tottenham 0 here on BBC Radio London on 94.9 FM, DAB Digital Radio, and on BBC Sounds. This North London derby at the moment has tilted Arsenal's way. The Spurs fans, I think, are for a period of time, those Spurs fans are saying, well, the plan was working. It's been slightly undone now, and that's a foul and a free kick to Arsenal. Saka brought down inside his own half.
The Arsenal crowd, and rightly so, are in full voice, are in confident mood. Now they've got the breakthrough. Spurs probably just need to navigate through the next 5 or 6 minutes or so, get into half-time. And the Tottenham coach, Thomas Frank, and his coaching staff need a bit of a reset here on what that plan B, C or D is going to be, Nick, for that second half.
Well, they've got Lucas Bergvall on the bench, Matthias Tell, Randall Kolo Muani. There's still no Maddison, there's still no Kulusevski, there's still no Solanke. These are colossal misses from a Spurs perspective. Zubimendi has helped this on, trying to find Trossard, but Romero has nodded it away from danger. Here's Trossard on the right now, the goal scorer. Gives it to Saka, and then Timber bursts down the right. Crosses early, headed away by Danso. Only as far as Eze, edge of the penalty area. Brilliant trickle zone right, and a wonderful goal! Eberechi Eze with an absolute beauty to double Arsenal's lead. 4 minutes to half-time. He picked the ball up on the edge of the box, but there was a lot to do. But he swiveled those hips and danced past 2 Tottenham players before slotting it under Vicario. This North London derby is now firmly in the red corner. It is Arsenal 2, Tottenham 0.
Yeah, wonderful quality. The The combination again by Arsenal down that right-hand side, and it comes to the edge of the penalty box. Nick, across the seasons at Wickham, at QPR and at Crystal Palace, we've seen this young player develop. He's got magical feet, and it was there for millions across the planet to see. Buried his shot, bottom left-hand corner, 2-0, pick that one out. What a goal.
And if Tottenham had coughed up, he'd be playing for them. Maybe we shouldn't dwell on that. Not at this point in proceedings. Eze hailed by the Arsenal supporters. It's his second Premier League goal, Eberechi Eze. It's a wonderful strike. Scored against Serbia for England as well. And that...
Is there a check, Nick? Oh, here we go,
there is a check. Now, hold on a second. There is... and it didn't last long. The Arsenal fans suggesting the check's over. There was no offside. Again, it took them a long time to work out there was a check, and then once it actually got underway, it lasted about 15 seconds. Well, he's an extraordinary character, Eberechi Eze. He won the FA Cup with Crystal Palace. May well have a big role to play in the United States next summer. And he scored what might be the decisive goal in the North London derby. Harry Symeou, it's a good job Arsenal coughed up the money, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what, he hasn't been as involved in the game as you'd like him to be, but if you think about the contributions he's made, there was that beautiful ball in behind for Declan Rice, and then he shows brilliant feet on the edge of the box and he gets the shot. The reason there was a check was because there was a couple of Arsenal players ahead of the play, and I think there was a concern that they might have just blocked Vicario's view. It's all such a grey area, isn't it, with regards to who's interfering and who's not. We've seen that come up many times in recent weeks, but a nice quick check. And Eberechi Eze's dreamed of that moment. Grew up as an Arsenal supporter. He's dreamed of that moment and he's got it.
Here come Arsenal again, down the left. Trossard running towards the corner flag. All of a sudden the situation from a Tottenham perspective is quite grave. The very last thing they wanted to be is 2-0 down to Arsenal at half-time.
Yeah, spot on, Nick. They're swarming forward. They've been relentless. They've really sort of almost strangled Tottenham Hotspur here, Nick, haven't they? You know, with that, you know, all-important, crucial second goal. And they've got like a vice-like grip on this North London derby now.
You can work, if you're Tottenham, you can work hard for 36 minutes. You can chase every lost cause. You can make sure that everything's covered. You can work that back three as hard as you want, and you can nail everything down. But what are we? 8 minutes later, none of it matters. None of it matters at all. This is a brutal game sometimes, Bradley.
Most definitely.
Really brutal.
But if you want evidence, this is a team that are going for the title.
Well, it's
no question about that.
It's another sign, perhaps, that this is a different type of Arsenal this season. You know, being frustrated for half an hour by Tottenham. Previously, maybe tempers would have boiled over. Previously, mistakes would have been made. But not so far. Not by a long way. What can Tottenham do to plot their way back into it? In goes Palhinha with a robust challenge on Marino, but fair, according to Michael Oliver. We're going to have 3 more minutes of this at the end of the first half on BBC Radio London. 2-0 Arsenal lead. Goes back to Romero. If you would, well, I'm about to ask you a question. There might be a silly question, Bradley, but would you abandon the 3 at the back at half-time? There's a bit of a run in between Udogie and Timber.
He tried to get forward there and Timber just sort of got across him. The referee is just diffusing the situation. I think the thing is, you know, Kudus hasn't really played on Spurs' right wing in this first half. He's tended to drift central. Richarlison down the middle has cut such a distant and isolated figure. Odegaard has not really had the ball and been in the game and ball carried themselves. Spurs really have just been disciplined and stayed compact and behind the ball, but once Arsenal, through the deflected Trossard effort and then the brilliance from Eze, they're well in control of this one.
Harry.
I was just going to say, like, we're talking about Arsenal being an example for Spurs to look at. It's not just what Arsenal do on the ball. We're going to talk about Trossard's touch and swivel and Eze's great feet, but it's what Arsenal do off the ball. They strangle you. It's really difficult for Tottenham. You can say they've been negative. Some people will after this game, no doubt, but they've been strangled here, and that's the level you want to get to. And Thomas Frank will be taking notes, I'm sure.
Oh, Vicario with a terrible clearance, a terrible free kick, and this is sent back into the Tottenham box with interest, but it's not going to go in. Kenny McLean's not in the building. Don't worry, Spurs fans. We're not in that arena just yet. I mean, that would have been even further. That would have been from the edge of the Arsenal penalty. I'm not even sure who clattered it, but someone had a go from range, and no way through. Vicario clears again. Richarlison is just sat on by Saliba there. No foul. Richarlison gets up looking increasingly mournful. This is back with David Raya away to our left-hand side. Still 2-0 to the Gunners. We played for 2 of the 3 minutes.
Well, that last time Spurs were on here from that glancing late header from Kabul, that seems a long time away, Nick. I don't remember Spurs in the first half of that one, having been here that afternoon at the Emirates. You know, not showing so little in an attacking sense, but it'd be something remarkable, wouldn't it, if they turn it around and win this one 3-2.
I remember Arsenal being pretty much in charge on that afternoon, but that would be quite. I don't think they were top of the table though, having not lost at home since the previous season, but my memory is getting cloudier as the years go by, Brandy, but Arsenal are certainly, tell you for certain, in charge of this one. And the half-time whistle goes, and it is the Arsenal supporters who are on their feet hailing their team after a patient and then pretty destructive half of football. They bided their time. Spurs gave them nothing for well over half an hour, but when they did strike, they were decisive. And the goals came from Leandro Trossard with 9 minutes of the first half to go after Mourinho had dinked the ball into the box, and then a bit of artistry from Eberechi Eze collecting it side on the goal on the edge of the penalty area, gliding between 2 defenders and then finishing with aplomb low into the bottom corner. They had other chances, Declan Rice and Bukayo Saka both with efforts saved by Guillermo Vicario. Tottenham didn't really create anything. If they're going to get anything from this game, that in the second half is going to have to improve. Half time at the Emirates on BBC Radio London. It's Arsenal 2, Tottenham 0.
Total Sport Live.
BBC Radio London.
Bradley, is there a recipe for Thomas Frank? Maybe using the substitutes, maybe a change in formation to get them back into this?
I think it's an excellent point, Nick. Perhaps that's Spurs' only hope. Just some fresh legs, a bit of youthful exuberance, whether that's Bergvall, Sarr coming in on midfield, Moani, you know, those sort of players to be introduced, just run around, chase after, press the ball, and just maybe unsettle and force an error or two from Arsenal, because they look in control, they look imperious, rarely troubled defensively in midfield. Zubimendi and Declan Rice have pretty much run the show, and Trossard and Eze have been super sharp and played with real quality, and Arsenal are worthy of that 2-0 half-time lead.
Harry, we've spoken about Arsenal being tested in all sorts of different ways and passing a lot of those tests. At the moment, this looks like it could be another hurdle cleared. Is that fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Do you know what it is? It's belief. It's that belief that you are going to find a way, even when it's not going your way. And I think Arsenal, in the last couple of years, in situations like this, at points like this, have been a little bit too eager, and there's that frustration's creeped in, and it's taken over. And I feel like they're really comfortable in their own skin right now. They know the squad's got depth, they've got options, they've got another 2 back in Martinelli and Madueke, who they can call upon at some point if required. And I think just having that belief means Arsenal continue to play their game, and eventually they'll grind you down. They make life so difficult for you in possession, out of possession, that, you know, eventually they're going to find a way through, and they've done that again with 2 brilliant bits of magic. I do wonder, did Tottenham have a case with a couple of players being in offside positions from that Eze goal? And I'm not saying that I want to see that disallowed, but given the precedent that's been set in recent weeks,
with the Liverpool one, you
know, I just wonder if that's something they'll be complaining about afterwards.
There was some there was some advice being given by some members of the Spurs coaching staff to the officials down there. I presume that it was about that. But yes, that it's so unclear as to what constitutes offside these days and what doesn't. It really is it's a bit of a lottery pick, to be honest with you. Bradley, if you were Mikel Arteta, would you want to take this opportunity to go for more goals from an Arsenal perspective?
Yeah, I think so. You know, with his home advantage and the confidence amongst the Arsenal fans, now with that 2-0 scoreline. And you know what wouldn't surprise me as well, in the latter stages of this one, some of the academy players get minutes as well, and that would just be the cherry on the cake, wouldn't it, for Arsenal in Wari and Lewis Skelly, and even a certain mercurial 15-year-old in Max Naumann. I could see that happening if they get 3 or 4 here. You know, Tottenham have got an awful lot to do, and this would take some monumental effort against this just brilliance and quality of this Arsenal side, insofar what we've seen not only in that first 48 minutes but across this season, Nick.
Harry and Bradley, thank you very much indeed for now. We'll hear more from both of you during the second half here on BBC Radio London. A reminder that live commentary on Tuesday evening comes from Stoke Charlton on digital radio. On Wednesday, Spurs are playing PSG in Paris. We'll have that one for you live as well. Rob Green will be here at 6 o'clock in the evening tomorrow to talk about all of the weekend's football. I'm sure this game will come up, and Aaron Paul will be here at 6 o'clock in the morning to get you to work with all of the usual breakfast ingredients, including reaction from the managers here at the Emirates. At half-time it is Arsenal 2, Tottenham 0. Let's have a look back at some of yesterday, shall we? Plenty of big headlines made by the likes of West Ham and by Fulham, not so much by the likes of Charlton and AFC Wimbledon, but plenty to look back on nevertheless. And we'll start on the South Coast, where our commentator Andy Rowley felt compelled to burst into song before watching West Ham throw away a 2-goal lead against Bournemouth. He's not singing anymore.
Oh, I do like to be beside the seaside.
Todibo now flicks it on, knocked down by Kelman. Oh, that is absolutely outstanding. Callum Wilson, absolutely brilliant. Just wheeled and fired it left-footed into the top corner. And he is coming back to haunt Bournemouth here this afternoon. That was a stunning strike from Callum Wilson, who's doubled his tally, and West Ham lead here at Bournemouth by 2-0. Lovely turn from Unal. There's the chance, and there's the equaliser. And the roof comes off here at the Vitality Stadium. They spent the whole second half piling the pressure on. West Ham have invited it, and Bournemouth have accepted the invitation. It's Bournemouth 2, West Ham 2, and West Ham now going to try and hang on for a point when 3 look theirs at half time.
So a tough game, and tough circumstances are the tough circumstances. First half we punished Bournemouth by their mistakes. We took advantage, and second half the momentum changed. It was all about Bournemouth, and we were against the rules, couldn't go out. We knew it was tough, and the reality showed that it's a tough place to come.
Can you tell us why the momentum changed? Was it behind the substitution of Callum Wilson?
Let's see it better, but maybe, I don't know. We tried to have a little bit more with Thomas, see if we can have the first pass. He didn't quite get there, but I cannot say, look, it's credit for Bournemouth. They were man-to-man, exploiting the wide areas. Always 5 players in our last line. Come on, it's hard to defend. We did for many spells of the game, but I think the first half we see the goals are that goal. There's a lot of things that we should have looked and take in consideration to really analyze the game properly.
Igor Thiago back to step up against Verbruggen, away to our left-hand side. Ouattara fouled by Baleba inside the penalty area. Thiago, second highest scorer in the Premier League. Going to Brentford, and he does! The bees are buzzing on the south coast. They've clipped the wings of the seagulls, and it's Brighton Hove Albion 0, Brentford 1. Referees allow play on from an offside, and down the right-hand side comes Minte for Brighton Hove Albion into the Brentford penalty area. Waits for some support. Is he going to need it? Strikes one goalwards, took a deflection. Hinshelwood with an effort, and it's snuck in from the Brighton and Hove Albion substitute into the path of Hinshelwood. Didn't make the cleanest of contacts, but the local boy Come Good has put Brighton ahead. Brighton and Hove Albion 2, Brentford 1.
Mark Hugh now. heads into the Burnley penalty area. Hugh has a chance, pulls it back, and it's rammed in. Chelsea have a second goal. Enzo Fernandez has found the back of the net. Mark Hugh made it. He unselfishly played it into the path of Fernandez, and Chelsea have a 2-0 advantage at Turf Moor. It may well now be settled. Burnley 0, Chelsea 2.
We knew before the match, if you analyse the games that Sunderland they have been playing so far, they have been very, very difficult to play against. Very physical side, well organised. We expected them to come. If they were not able to press so high ourselves, and most of the times I think we built well our attacks.
Kamada waits behind this corner. It's actually a short one to Pino. Pino then rolls it square. Walton through bodies, comes back, and it's in. And Palace have the lead through Daniel Munoz. Came from a corner that was pulled out to Adam Walton, pinged through bodies to come back to Daniel Munoz.
We couldn't win after the first 2 international breaks this year, so we drew both games and at home. And now we could win here at Wolves, and it was also a difficult situation because a new manager. We could see the stadium was really very enthusiastic, especially at the beginning. Players highly motivated. We didn't know how they play. And I think the players did really well. Dealt with this situation excellently.
Wazy coming on again, Nigerian. He crosses, looking for Jimenez. He scores. Raul Jimenez from 6 yards has put it under roofs, and Fulham lead by a goal to 0.
We knew before the match, if you analyse the games that Sunderland they have been playing so far, they have been very, very difficult to play against. Very physical side, well organised. We expected them to come. If they were not able to press so high ourselves, and most of the times I think we built well our attacks.
Just by the near side corner of the 18-yard box, towards the box, drops from Burrow! Will the offside flag go up? It doesn't! QPR have taken the lead, and it's Romain Burrow seizing on the loose ball, beating the offside trap and smashing past Ivar Pandul.
Of course the win is very important, but for me the performance is as well very important, because it means a lot for me to win a game like this with this kind of performance. I think offensively it was our best performance at the start of the season. Very good movement, great opportunity, 26 shots I think, 3.5 EJ created, so it's a lot. Without penalty it's a lot, and also credit to the players, they deserve this one. And second thing why I enjoy this game as well is the mental reaction of the players after we concede the first goal and the second goal, because they shot only one time in the first half and they scored, but we stay focused, and players stick to the plan and they continue to play like we wanted to play, and the second half it was the same thing.
Oh, John do have a goal back. It's headed in by Lloyd Jones, and the comeback starts here.
Look, give credit to them for 20 minutes. They were, as good a side as we've seen at this level. Could we have been a bit more aggressive? Could we? We didn't do the things that we do normally, and that's basically what's cost us. We don't defend the box well enough for the first goal. We allow certain things to happen for the second, which kind of kills it, and then they go up a level, and then you really worry when they get 3 and 4 quickly.
Brown out to the left hand side, and Husband with the cross into the box and into the back of the net it goes in stoppage time. It is Ashley Fletcher, red shirt surrounding the referee Samuel Allison, but I don't think he's going to change his mind. It is Blackpool who are celebrating in the 4th minute of additional time. 10 men Lake Noyan 1, Blackpool 1.
That was a foul on Dana. Pulls his shirt, kicks him, trips him up. Did we get one decision today? Honestly, I just cannot believe how bad the refereeing performances are. And I don't usually moan. 2 weeks ago, we win a penalty, and the goalkeeper's made no attempt to play the ball. He's pulled Don Ballard back. It's a sending off. It's not the double jeopardy rule. If he goes to play the ball, then you can't have the double jeopardy rule. It's a penalty and it's not a sending off.
BBC Scam Safe Week.
I would say upwards of £4,000 they've had out of him.
There's a huge problem here.
This is the verification call about your account.
I was getting money taken out that I could not afford to replace.
These people have no morals.
Fake delivery fee text.
Bank impersonation calls.
Online fake stores.
Price claim.
Romance scams.
Doorstep calls.
Just some of the ways that scammers are trying to get to your money. Listen all this week on BBC Radio London and find out how you can protect yourself and what to do when something may not look or sound quite right.
BBC Scam Safe Week.
BBC Radio London. Total Sport Live.
BBC Radio London.
Half-time in the North London derby. At the moment, the points are staying this end of the Seven Sisters Road. Trossard's broken the line. Here's a chance! It's rolled in! The flag stays down! Arsenal take the lead and it's Leandro Trossard! With 9 minutes to go to the interval, the ball was dinked into the 18-yard area and Spurs switched off. Trossard tracked the run, stayed onside and somehow managed to force it over the line. First blood to the Gunners in the North London derby. Arsenal 1, Tottenham 0. Crosses early, headed away by Danso. Only as far as Eze, edge of the penalty area. Brilliant trickle zone right and a wonderful goal. Eberechi Eze with an absolute beauty to double Arsenal's lead. 4 minutes to half time. He picked the ball up on the edge of the box, but there was a lot to do. But he swiveled those hips and danced past two Tottenham players before slotting it under Vicario. This North London derby is now firmly in the red corner. It is Arsenal 2, Tottenham 0. And that is what it is at the break, and there are changes afoot for Tottenham at the interval. Xavi Simon, yet to score a goal for Spurs, is going to come on. Today would be the day to do that. I'm just trying to see who he's coming on for. Kevin Danso. So the back three's been abandoned at half-time with Spurs 2-0 down. Danso off, Simon on, wearing number 7, and that means very much a change in formation for Spurs. You can see Romero just shuffling across to play as one of two centre-halves with Van der Ven. The Arsenal lineup is unchanged. Raya in goal, back for Timber, Saliba, and Capier and Calafiori in midfield. Rice and Zubimendi with Saka, Eze and Trossard behind Marino. Second half underway here with Arsenal 2-0 up. Spurs have got Vicario in goal, back four of Spence, Romero, Van der Ven and Udogie, Bentancur and Palhinha in midfield with Odebert, Simon and Kudus behind Richarlison as the main striker. Quite how that formation works precisely, we'll find out. On the bench for Arsenal, Arrizabalaga, Mosquera, White, Martinelli, Norgard, Madueke, Wanyeri, Lewis Skelly and Dowman. As here come Arsenal again, and here's Eze again! It's 3! Arsenal have scored within 35 seconds of the restart, and it's Eberechi Eze who struck his second of the game. Tottenham cut to ribbons down their right. It was played into Eze, who fired it low past Vicario. There is now a lot of daylight between Tottenham and Arsenal in this North London derby, and all the King's horses and all the King's men might not put Tottenham back together again. Arsenal 3, Tottenham 0.
And finish again from Eze. The worst possible start for Tottenham Hotspur with a matter of seconds into this second half. This is now already become a statement victory and a statement performance from Arsenal. Left foot, bottom left-hand corner. Spurs keeper Vicario, no chance of keeping that one out. 3-0, probably game over.
It's a great finish by Eze. And the Arsenal supporters who maybe spent half-time wondering what this second half would bring, remembering perhaps 2010 when Tottenham fought brought back, or they're probably enjoying the start of the second half now. Here comes Spurs. Audebert gets a low cross into the box, cleared by Saliba at the near post. I was doing the subs, wasn't I? That was the sort of trivial nonsense that I bother with at the start of the second half. Arrizabalaga, Mosquera, White, Martinelli, Norgard, Madueke, Wanyeri, Lewis, Skelly, and Dowman. And for Spurs, Kinski, Tell, Gray, Bergvall, Johnson, Porro, Sarr and Kolo Muani. This is BBC Radio London, live at the Emirates, where it's Arsenal 3, Tottenham 0. And Tottenham made the change, brought on Xavi Simon, abandoned the back five, had a plan for the second half to be certain, and it is disintegrated 35 seconds into that second period. Extraordinary. Harry Symeou, wipe that grin off your face and bring us your searing analysis of that third Arsenal goal.
Isn't it? Because so many of the Arsenal fans still hadn't made their way back to their seats yet. That's how early in the second half this goal has come for the Gunners, who are on the attack again down the right hand side with Bukayo Saka.
He's going to float this into the box. Spence on the chase. It hasn't worked well for him. Here's Trossard, goes past his man, and then Vicario comes out and grabs the ball. This may not be over, Harry, the way Arsenal are looking hungry.
No, absolutely. And do you know what? I'm delighted for Eberechi Eze, because there has been not very loud sort of murmurings, but there has been conversations within the Arsenal fan base with regards to whether or not he's done enough so far to justify the fee that Arsenal paid for him. There have been flashes, there have been signs of his brilliance, but he's not done it as consistently as people would have liked. And here he is on North London Derby Day, popping up with two brilliant goals. And the finish for the second one there is just exquisite. And it takes the game away from Tottenham Hotspur. And for Arsenal now, with Bayern Munich to come in midweek, you never want to say this in a Premier League game, because you just don't know. But they might start to have one eye on that Champions League clash in midweek.
Bradley was mentioning the fact that there could be some changes incoming from an Arsenal perspective if they get comfortable in the second half. And you're not going to get much more comfortable 4 minutes in at 3-0 up, Bradley.
Yeah, you think of, Declan Rice and Saliba, Marino, Calafiori, Saka, those players upon the hour really, Nick, could be rested. They could be brought off, and some young, fresh Arsenal blood can come onto the field and play for the closing stages. But I think from an Arsenal point of view, does this surprise me, Nick? Well, in some ways, no, it doesn't, because I think they knew the importance that this game carried here this afternoon, this North London derby, with what's to come. And like Harry said, the week, Bayern Munich Champions League, although they're going to get through that. Chelsea next Sunday. That's a massive game now at Stamford Bridge, an absolutely enormous game. And quite simply, the way that they've gone, because they've only lost one game, remember, this season, Arsenal. They're probably not going to lose this one. And they're swarming forward again.
Yeah, sliding through the gears. Trossard away down the left-hand side. Here's the cross. Looks for Eze, touched away by Vicario, I think. Comes out to Marino on that far side, and he's going to lift a cross in. It's headed away by Romero. Drops to Zubamendi, blocked by Romero again. And the flag goes up for offside after all of that caper. And it's going to be a free kick to Tottenham. 40 minutes to go. Arsenal 3, Tottenham 0. Just seeing the Eze finish again. Lovely placed action into the bottom right-hand corner of
an erring finish, wasn't it?
It was.
Just stroked the ball off that volley, bottom left-hand corner. Sublime finish, that one from Eberechi Eze.
Damage limitation for Spurs now. Arsenal have the opportunity to really blow a hole in the side of their North London rivals. They've only won once here, Spurs, in 32 years in the Premier League. I'm not sure we're going to get the kind of grandstand finish we had that day back in 2010 when Harry Redknapp's Tottenham turned a 2-0 deficit around to win 3-2. It goes back to Saliba. Here's Simon trying to chase this, the man who's come on as a sub and not really touched the ball yet. Trossard sends this forward, headed away by Van de Ven. Collected by Eze. Wide to that right-hand side. And Saka into Timber on the overlap. Gets in a cross, blocked by Palhinha. Will be kept in play by Spurs on that far side. Yes, it is. Fired forward for Audebert. Audebert's dispossessed. All too easy, he's trying to win it back, but Timber's strong, and then there's a foul on Timber.
Might be a yellow card, is it? Xavi Simons a sub.
Did he come in and make the change? Do you get one these days, Bradley? Maybe you do.
Let's have a look. Yeah, he's missed the ball, hasn't he? He's lunged.
No card for Mr.
Low and across.
Mr. Oliver.
First one free kick Arsenal.
Well, maybe the most remarkable thing about these 3 goals we've seen from an Arsenal perspective is that none of them have come from a set piece. They haven't scored their set piece goal yet in the game, Bradley. Maybe they're cooking one up now.
I think there'll be a good number of Arsenal fans that be reminding the world of that, Nick, this afternoon.
No, I think you're probably right. Yes, they're set piece FC without any set pieces.
They might enjoy that most of all, as well as a potential win here.
Here's Rice with the delivery. It's wide on the right, halfway inside the Tottenham half of the field. Fired in with pace and flicked wide by Calafiori. In fact, it's skimmed off his head and runs out to the corner flag. It's kept in play by Trossard, who cuts it back to Eze on a hat-trick. Little weaving run, clips it into the box looking for Timber, but it's cleared away. And Kudus is going to try and release Audebert on that left-hand side. Here come Tottenham. Audebert's made some inroads here, but he's run into an awful lot of red-shirted traffic. He's done well to beat 2 players, and he's gone down, and he's earned a free kick to Spurs. 15 yards inside the Arsenal half of the field, a bit further than that. And it'll be Christian Romero to take it. And I thought they were going to ask Vicario to take that one, but maybe it'll be Jed Spence.
But even then, when he started to pick up some momentum there at the bird, there was only really Richarlison, Kudos in support, and Arsenal had already got 6 players back in defensive positions in front of Raya. There was a free kick. Simmons to take.
Clipped in, headed away by Nkapie, comes back to Spence, finds Kudus, and then it's lifted forward by Simon to the edge of the penalty area, falls to Bentancur, and he's had it taken away from him by Marino, and Saka now burrows over the halfway line. Well, we said that it might be a day for Mohamed Kudus, but he has not taken on anyone, run at them, gone to the touchline, gone round, made Calafiori's life difficult, or Timber on the other side. We've just not seen it. And those routes to victory for Spurs that we talked about in the first half, they've just not really materialised. Here's Richarlison going for goal from range and scores! Well, Richarlison from just outside the centre circle has chipped David Raya to score for Spurs and reduce the number they'll need to catch the Arsenal. It was sent in beautifully by Richarlison, who places it on the centre spot, and it's Arsenal 3, Tottenham 1, and you just don't know, do you?
Well, he dallied on the ball, Zubimendi, centre circle. There's no need for that. I'll tell you what, Nick, I am not sure Richarlison is ever going to score a better goal in his career, because David Raya wasn't that far off his line, but the shot from about 40 odd yards was amazing, and he flung himself backwards, Raya, who's one of the most athletic goalkeepers in European football.
A chance at the other end. Is there going to be a chance for a fourth? It's taken away by Bentancur. Goodness gracious me. I don't think we were expecting to have this conversation 10 minutes into the second half, after it went 3-0 after 35 seconds. Here comes Spurs again down the left, and Udogie can't keep it in play. Amazing goal by Richard. We said earlier that Kenny McLean wasn't in the building, but well, it turns out he is.
Well, you looked into that crystal ball, didn't you?
Tell you what,
stunning effort.
Amazing.
They couldn't, Nick, could they?
Well, I tell you what, Richarlison becomes only the second player to score for the away side at the Emirates in the Premier League this season. The only other player to do it was Haaland. They've had 5 clean sheets. They're not getting a clean sheet today. 3-1 to Arsenal is the score. Dare I say, Bradley, that the next goal is terribly important.
We'll get one.
You think so?
We might even get a 6th or 7th.
Well, do not adjust your set. Harry Symeou, this was on the plan, wasn't it?
No,
knowing this Arsenal team the way that we do, they'll be really disappointed.
You must be stunned, Harry.
The clean sheet, but
the manner of that goal.
Yeah, I mean, Martin Zubimendi, there was always that fear when he arrived at Arsenal that he might just struggle with that physical side of the game. And to be fair to him, most of the time he's looked all right, but he just got caught out there. He just slowed down a little bit too much, maybe a little bit of complacency, bit of tiredness. I don't know what it was, but uncharacteristic for him to lose the ball the way he did. But Richarlison's finish, unbelievable. My jaw dropped. Unbelievable finish.
It was literally one of those days where the jaw does drop. It was honestly the last thing I was expecting to happen. You know what I mean? I don't mean to say that unkindly from a Spurs or an Arsenal perspective, but Richarlison scoring from halfway was the very last thing I expected. Just over half an hour to go. Arsenal 3, Tottenham 1. Richarlison has reduced the deficit. Here's Saliba. Forward to Marina. Might just make Arsenal angry, of course. That's possible. Calafiori has sent that square looking for Marino, but it goes over his head for a throw.
Arteta wants the Arsenal crowd to try and lift these players. And I think the thing is, they've been generally the dominant force in North London derbies for a while now, both home and away. Would they have thought that they'd be romping to a 3-0 lead, Nick, before the hour? Well, no, I don't think they were, and that where maybe just a tad complacent and concentration lapse. But Spurs have been a little bit better, but Trossard might get onto this long ball.
3 Spurs players converge on him as he makes his way down the left-hand side. Good speed into the penalty area. Spencer's dealt with that though. Goes out for a goal kick, which will be taken by Vicario, who is all of a sudden in a bit of a hurry. Yes, amazed to hear that, Bradley. It was a very quick Italian who scurried round behind his goal to get this ball ready for a goal kick. We've had almost an hour. It is Arsenal 3, Tottenham 1. The Spurs fans taking this opportunity just to make a bit of noise. Back to Vicario, who takes a heavy touch and then has to scramble it away from Declan Rice, who was closing him down. Here's a doggy running at the edge of the Arsenal penalty area. Audebert lifts it across, flying header clear by Nkapie to the halfway line. In goes Palhinha to win it back. Spurs starting to ask a few questions. Simon into the box he goes, just tries to go past 2 or 3. It's a good run, and is it a corner? No, it's a goal kick. The Spurs fans wanted a corner, with a bit of imagination, Bradley, a bit of daring do from Xavi Simon.
Bit of confidence, tried to sort of weave and meander into the Arsenal penalty box, but I think he had the final touch there, the Dutchman, and Raya smashes the ball forward from the restart.
Drops on the halfway line to Marino, and it goes back into the feet of Saliba. Yes, Xavi Simon scored for the Dutch against Lithuania on Monday in a 4-0 win. He's still yet to score for Spurs. Scoring the next one here today would make things jolly interesting. Here's Zubimendi down the left. Oh, and Spencer's gone flying in there to a crunching challenge on Zubimendi, which Michael Oliver sees nothing wrong with.
I think that was a foul. Really surprised at that one.
He went in at full tilt there, Spence, and I thought at least one of his legs looked off the ground. Kudus running at Eze. Eze does well initially. Eze goes to ground, and finally Michael Oliver blows his whistle for a foul on Eze, who's been caught in the lower abdomen by the looks of things. That's going to hurt. The 2-goal hero for Arsenal.
I think he inadvertently just got trod on. He tried to have a little mazy himself on the Spurs right-hand side there, Kudus. But free kick for Arsenal, good decision, and he tried to encourage a flow to the game, didn't he, Michael Oliver there?
Yes, he was not interested in blowing up for that Spence foul at all. Jed Spence went in full-blooded, I think is the expression. Richarlison it was who was penalised with a foul on Eze, and it'll be a free kick that David Raya is going to take inside his own half of the field. It's 3-1 to Arsenal. This is BBC Radio London. And Raya raises his left arm. We're going to see Pape Sarr for Spurs as the next change. Trossard brings this free kick down on the touchline. Battles with Spence, goes out of play for a throw into Arsenal right in front of Mikel Arteta, who applauds ferociously. Or is this going to be a free kick actually? Declan Rice is coming across to look after it, so it'll be a free kick to Arsenal. That's why Mikel Arteta was so delighted.
Yeah, I think Pape Sarr probably come on with Bentancur on that yellow card. He might join Paulinho in the Spurs midfield. Bergvall, Porro, Johnson away to our left as well are being warmed up and ready for Spurs, but Declan Rice from Arsenal left will in-swing this free kick.
Rice down the left. Left arm raised, right-footed delivery. The bus routine is underway once again. Flows in dangerously, pushed away by Vicario. As far as Eze, onto his left foot, shoots him, goes up in the air. Saliba's going to have a go. Now Nkapie down the left, wins a corner. No, not a corner, flags up for offside. Double change. Randall Kolo Muani and Pape Matar are going to come on for Tottenham. Their second and third change. Would you put Kolo Muani? I suppose you're going to have to
he'd go down the middle,
and then maybe Richarlison to the flank, or they take Richarlison off. You'd have thought as he
maybe
just
even
halfway line.
Odegaard will come off, and Simmons, who has at times played for Spurs on that left-hand side.
Tottenham knocking it around inside their penalty area, really quite spectacularly, dangerously, but it's come off, and in the end Vicario puts his laces through it. Rice then hoofs it back, and this will be allowed to run through to Vicario. Not the most memorable moment of the game. And Kolo Muani is indeed wearing a mask after that facial injury against Manchester United. Just to add to the drama, here's Richarlison onside as he moves forward in Tottenham colours now. 3-1 down they are. Udogie wide to Simon on the left, dashing forward, approaching the edge of the box. Here he is. He's going to drill this in low and gathered by Raya. That may be David Raya's first save of the game.
Yeah, better quality from Spurs. Controlled build-up. Paulinho did well inside the Spurs half to swivel away from Rice down the right, switch of play. And maybe he would have been better suited, Simmons, to cross that one rather than driving in a low shot. Handball from Saka. Spurs might on this stoppage get these subs onto the field of play. No, not yet, but very soon. They're getting that mask ready though, aren't they?
They're checking that the mask is secured properly. Seems a strange time to be kind of making sure the mask is okay, but it looks like it's on now, and the physio team are happy. A reminder that if it stays like this, Arsenal will have a 6-point gap to Chelsea and a 7-point gap to Manchester City at the top of the table. They play Chelsea in the Premier League next on Saturday. This goes back to Romero, who uses Van de Ven alongside him. Tottenham asking a few more questions in this second half. The Richarlison goal has had a bit of a transformative effect on the Tottenham players. We've seen an actual save by David Raya. We've seen much more positive runs forward. This is a very, very long way back for Spurs in this game. It's going to be an Arsenal throw. And Kolo Muani and Pape Sarr, who waited a while to come on, now make their introduction. And Wilson Odegaard is coming off for Muani. Still looking for a first goal for Tottenham, and then it is indeed Bentancur who's on that yellow card, coming off for Sarr, wearing 29. So he played against Brazil last Saturday. Pape Sarr here against for Senegal on the other team to Gabriel, who come up with that injury. Here's a Calafiori throw for the Gunners on halfway, as we have now 24 minutes to go. Oh, here's a chance for Marino, lifts it into the box, Saka brings it down, tries to get a yard of space, and it runs away from him. Gathered by Vicario. Not quite sure what happened to Tottenham there. Arsenal were in.
Yeah, right down the middle of the pitch. Marino was unselfish, and maybe Saka didn't need that extra touch, Nick, and he could have volleyed it a little bit quicker as he got on the inside of Udogie there in a really promising position.
Paulinho getting Spurs moving forward again. They've had more of the ball in this second half, Tottenham. Moments like this were just unheard of, really, in the first 45 minutes. But Trossard and Eze's goals put the Gunners in what looked like an impregnable position. It remains a strong position at 3-1, but it's a little more in the balance than it has been at any point in this 198th running of the North London derby. Free kick on the halfway line.
You know who's brilliant, Nick, and really underrated, and no surprise why he was signed from Brentford, Raya.
Yeah.
And you know why I will compliment him?
Yep.
Because he's serving with his feet. He's so good. He's like an outfield player. And even if he's pressed and he has to play a longer pass, you know what it's like often? A Tom Brady quarterback pass where it actually gives the attacking players, even though it might be in a duel or under pressure and the ball's travelling over distance, he plays it with such quality into them, they've got a chance of receiving the ball. It's not curled and spooned up in the air where it's fight ball and you can get absolutely smashed by a big centre half. You know, the understanding of that and the technique of that is something to watch, and just small detail but really important.
Eze has his pocket pinched on the halfway line. It's Bradley Allen with us this afternoon here on BBC Radio London. Richarlison on the edge of the Arsenal box, gets forced wide by Nkapie. Out to Paulinho, swings a high ball into the box. It's too high.
It's disappointing.
Not a lot of quality there from.
He did well.
Spurs.
Richarlison, he unselfishly run left channel, held the ball up. Paulinho used his athleticism to support. He checked back and he's overstruck the cross right over the head of Kudos. And that half-attacking moment completely lost. Shame.
Harry Symeou's with us. Now, Harry, you were saying that maybe they might look to try and freshen things up with Bayern Munich coming up. Has the Richarlison goal changed that idea?
Yeah, possibly, but I'm surprised that Mikel Arteta hasn't made at least one change anyway, because I feel like there's open spaces in that midfield, because Rice, Zubimendi and Eze, they're tired. You know, they've all gone on international duty. They've all played loads and loads of minutes, and I just think to myself, you've signed Christian Norgard in the summer. 4 scenarios like this. Bring him onto the pitch, close the midfield down, because for me, there are too many open spaces at the minute. You've seen it just then. Zubimendi had gone ahead of Eberici Eze in the play, and when Eze lost the ball and the referee allowed play to continue, Arsenal were completely exposed in midfield. So, look, they're in a great position, obviously 3-1 up with 20 minutes to go, but I don't really understand why Mikel Arteta is insistent on sticking with what he's got when you can clearly see that there's a few players in there looking a bit leggy for Arsenal.
There is a pause because of some treatment to an Arsenal player.
Yeah, it was a flaming elbow, not intentional from Van der Ven. Marino went down, half went to pick himself up, went down again. The referee almost started to allow the advantage for Spurs, and then he's blown it back. Marino's picked himself up. Now the physios are playing the game and jogging all the way across the pitch to treat him on that far side. Romero was furious. He bought that one a little bit, the referee, Michael Oliver.
Well, the game is going to restart.
Romero actually was yellow carded in that, Nick, for his argument.
Oh, this is played forward, and now Colimore, and now Sarah is going to break into the Arsenal box, and it's cleared by Raya thanks to Calafiori's foot in. Arsenal almost opened up defensively there, honestly for the first time.
Just not quite up to the speed of the game there, Sar. Half space run, wasn't tracked, like Harry says. Zubimendi and Rice played a lot of football, maybe tiring a little bit, international as well. Sar got off the back of them, and I think if his first touch would have been on the money, it would have took him into a goal-scoring position.
Yes, Declan Rice started against Serbia and Albania. Zubimendi also on the score sheet for Spain against Georgia during this international break, so they've both been busy boys. Free kick to Arsenal, which Raya takes downfield, flicked on towards Eze, but jumping is Romero to divert it away from danger, goes back into the Tottenham box. Saka shoots, saved by Vicario down to his right. Little sight of goal for the England forward, and he whipped the effort towards the corner. Vicario able to push it round the post for Arsenal's second corner.
Yeah, that might have just come back inside that post, a bit like the Eze second and Arsenal third seconds into this second half. Took no chances, Vicario there, palmed it away. Arsenal with Declan Rice can work a corner kick.
Yeah, what are Arsenal got in store for us with this corner kick. Only Arsenal's second of the game. Spurs haven't had any so far. It's not quite the bus stop routine, but there is a gaggle of Arsenal players ready to make a move at the far post. Here's Rice's delivery in towards the near post. It's headed away by Kudus, and then Eze volleys that into the stratosphere. That's come down with snow on it, and it's going to be a goal kick which Vicario, in combination with Mickey van der Ven, is going to take. So 18 minutes to go. Arsenal 3, Tottenham 1. Arsenal went into a 3-0 lead right at the very start of the second half. Eze's second goal put them in an seemingly impregnable position. Then that Richarlison goal has just made life a little more interesting. Here's Rice into Calafiori, who leaves it rather bravely, but Arsenal still have it. Zubamendi, Trossard, the ref gets in the way, and then that's been drilled by Trossard against Palhinha for another Arsenal corner. Their third of the game. The Gunners going hunting for the fourth goal that would re-extend the advantage.
Yeah, and being driven by their crowd as well. They want a fourth. They've got a thirst here for further goals to ram home this advantage that they've earned and worked for so far in this one.
Rice again with the right foot. All the Arsenal players beyond the far post once again, except Marino, just trudges towards the penalty spot. There will be a whole load of movement as Rice steps forward. This one comes in towards the far post, headed down over the line. Is it a scramble? No, it stayed out. What a scramble in that 6-yard box as it's played forward quickly by Vicario. Eze on the tidy up, back to Raya. It looked for a second as though it was going to be turned in at the far post. I think Saliba was in there and maybe Saka.
Well, he missed it initially, didn't he?
Yeah.
Vicario, and it looked real danger inside that 6-yard box, but the ricochet and bounce was rather fortunate for Spurs. It come back through to them, and they're able on the restart to go up the pitch. Eze tracked, but Spurs are on the attack. Simmons is carrying it with promise.
Yes, he's done well to drive forward and find Kudus. Edge of the penalty area. Kudus is ball in, looks at Richarlison, claimed by Raya. Steps out and gets to the ball before Richarlison wants to bowl it out. Only finds Kudus though. Arsenal giving it away. Here's Spence. Little dink ball into the box, steered away from danger by Zubamendi. It'll be a throw into Tottenham. The referee has come across to talk to Richarlison and to Saliba. And the conversation continues inside the D, and the remonstrations continue as well. Michael Oliver talking to the Brazilian Spurs striker.
Yeah, I think he's saying he's just grappled a little bit. Bit of a wrestling move from Saliba. Bit of a coming together.
Game restarts. Should have been a throw-in. Brennan Johnson getting ready for Tottenham. Now the ball's gone flat, has it?
Yeah.
Right, okay. You never know. You never know what's going to get thrown at you in this game.
Well, they've got to go here now, Nick, haven't they?
Yeah.
With 15 minutes of normal time on the clock, they have to take huge risks here, Tottenham. That is going to leave them susceptible, vulnerable to an Arsenal break and further opportunity for the home side.
Marino in a central position, turns this forward to Trossard, who races into the box. Across the face it goes for Eze! 4! Hat-trick for Eze! Against the club he nearly joined in the summer. Tottenham's resistance finally crumples with 15 minutes to go. And what a moment for Arsenal's big money signing in the summer. A hat-trick in his first ever North London derby to re-extend Arsenal's advantage and extinguish Tottenham's hopes. Arsenal 4, Tottenham 1, and one half of North London is raising its hat to Eze.
Well, if you want a statement performance and your arrival off the back of a big money transfer in the summer, that is it and more. Wow, a hat-trick in a North London derby. Brilliant. What a performance. 3 beautiful goals. Left foot, right foot. Top quality from Eze. We said at half-time that we know all about this young player. He's special. and to make a note to your home faithful. They're going to warm to the hearts, aren't they? The Arsenal fans. Who's the last player to do that, Nick?
Score a hat-trick in the North London derby? I don't know. But I was going to say, as Trossard comes off for Arsenal for Noni Madueke, that's another big moment for Arsenal to have him back on the field of play. Harry Symeou, it's all happening all of a sudden for the Gunners again.
Yeah, what a performance from Eberechi Eze, and if there was anyone that deserved to get the goal to take it away from Tottenham, who to their credit put up a bit of a fight in the last sort of 10-15 minutes, but it's the composure when he receives the ball. He doesn't rush, he doesn't snatch it, he's got that presence of mind, he knows what's going on around him, and he can tee himself up for another wonderful finish. The quality of all three finishes from Eberechi Eze today has been outstanding, and there are moments in the game where he's not on the ball often. There are points where you feel like the game bypasses him, especially when Arsenal go a little bit more direct. But to have someone in that area of the pitch that can produce that sort of quality when called upon is just incredible. And listen, Martin Odegaard's going to have a hard time getting back in this team when he does return.
Here they go with Madueke into the box here. But Eze might fancy it himself. Great save by Vicario. Brilliant stop to deprive Eze of his fourth and Arsenal's fifth. And Tottenham are melting away defensively. Arsenal attacking at will. And Eze nearly made it 5.
Well, some say big left hand from Vicario at his brilliant best to deny a fall to Eze.
Well, Spurs have made changes, by the way. Kudus off for Johnson and Porro on for Spence. But it's raining goals in this North London derby. The last time it was remotely this big a scoreline was back in 2012 when Arsenal won 5-2 here. But Madueke is coming forward. Eze slipped over. He is human after all. And Richarlison, who stoked the fires of Tottenham's resistance earlier on with that goal from halfway, now gives it to Xavi Simon, and Tottenham pile forward once more. Simon has shot very tamely wide. But yes, you don't often get massive margins in North London derbies. That last time was 5-2, was 5 different scorers: Mertesacker, Podolski, Giroud, Cazorla and Walcott.
Nick,
have you got it?
Can I just say, I can't take the credit for this. Our very own Jamal Fifield has just texted me to say that Alan Sunderland on the 23rd of December 1978 was the last hat-trick for Arsenal in a North London derby.
Wow, 1978, the last time an Arsenal player scored 3 goals.
Brilliant.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you, Jamal.
Well done, Jamal. Top work.
Outstanding. It would have taken me a while to go back that far, to be honest with you. 4-1. Here comes Spurs with Udogie down the left-hand side, and it gives it an extra piquancy that it is Eberechi Eze, who for long periods of the summer it looked as though was going to play his football with Tottenham Hotspur. Goodness me, Spurs have won a corner. It's their first of the afternoon or the evening with 10 minutes to go at 4-1.
Yeah, Moani on that left, on as a substitute now, nudged down that side of the pitch. Simmons were in swing this one. Be merely a consolation second, wouldn't it, for Spurs here, if they managed to get a flick off this delivery.
The Tottenham end is emptying. They have started their journey home. Monday morning is looming, and if any of those Tottenham fans work with Arsenal fans, as this is swung in and headed away by Rice, then it will be a horribly uncomfortable Monday morning indeed. Here's Porro, low cross, blocked by Eze, inside his own half of the field. Well, he's going to try and go for goal from deep inside his own half. Everybody's going for goal these days. It's the new fashion. It's like set-piece goals and moustaches, all back in fashion all of a sudden. Kole Muani tries to get hold of this. He's not really had an impact since coming on. Mask or no mask. Here's Saka, captain for the day, finds Madueke into the penalty area. He goes, squirting across, blocked by Porro, out for an Arsenal corner. Got a bit basketball.
Yeah, they're just oozing with confidence. They sense that they could rack up even more goals here, the Arsenal side and the Arsenal fans. No surprise, Nick, are pushing them, aren't they, to do exactly that.
Declan Rice has run a very long way to take this corner and has now had a chat with Michael Oliver. He's moaning. You can tell he's moaning about something because Michael Oliver says, go away. We haven't had a big Michael Oliver moment, have we, Ax? We thought that the stage was very much set.
No, not been necessary, is it?
It's been the Eberechi Eze show, really. Scoring a hat-trick for the Gunners. Declan Rice is getting ready to send this corner. It's corner number 4 for Arsenal. And again, they still haven't scored from a corner yet. What on earth are they playing at? This is fired in towards the near post. It's headed away for Spurs and clipped back into the penalty area. They've made a bit of a dog's dinner of getting this away, Tottenham. They have in the end. Brennan Johnson fires it clear. And then it's nodded away and out of play. Now I have to tell you, gentlemen, that my Saturday night, the breakfast show feature, I was supposed to sing a little bit of Wicked.
Go on, Nick.
No, I tell you, I can't find an opportunity to do it in the hurly-burly of a North London derby. It will be. I just haven't been able to find the appropriate moment, but. Just to warn you, it may come in the remaining minutes. Okay, Bradley's looking absolutely horrified at me. My well-fashioned reputation.
A man of many talents, Nick.
Well, I wouldn't go that far. You haven't heard it yet.
Your dulcet tones.
Wicked is out at the cinemas this weekend, which is why it's cropped up on the agenda. But Arsenal 4-1 to the good here after what has been a brutal North London derby for Spurs. It could get worse. Madueke tries to skip round Romero, but it goes out of play. And Eberechi Eze, I suppose, has been trying to defy gravity over the course of the game. Is that going to work? No, not really. I'll scrap that. I won't do it. We won't do that. It's all right. We'll save it in the edit. It'll be fine. Well, I'll just pretend the line's gone down again.
I want to hear this now.
No, I know you do, but I was waiting for a moment to try and do it, but it's going to be difficult. Also, Harry, one has to be very sensitive as to there's an offside flag goes up against Richarlison. The match situation, were it to be on a knife edge, and suddenly the commentator starts singing about a recently released cinema production. Once again, it may not quite be the appropriate moment. Now another change at Arsenal. And Ethan Nwaneri's going to come on. It's going to be a throw into the Gunners on this near side of the field. We've got 6 minutes to go. Final instructions from the Arsenal coaching staff. Calafiori is going to take this throw. Porro volleys it downfield. Richarlison battling furiously. Can't hold on to it. Madueke can. Calafiori whips it wide to Rice, but just overhit. Just overhit as Rice scampers.
I think he's had a decent performance as well, centre-half in Cappe. Harry had the confidence in him coming in the side this afternoon, and he's just seamlessly slotted alongside Saliba, and that partnership have been very solid and dependable across this afternoon.
Kalimawani on the left-hand side for Spurs, weaves his way forward and goes down. No foul. Timber bustles forward, eventually stopped by Van de Ven, and it'll be Nwaneri who clears the danger to the halfway line. Simon breaking forward. He's been poleaxed by Rice, who has a word with Simon as he goes down.
Can't not be a yellow card.
And then Pedro Porro has gone straight up to Declan Rice, and arms are raised, and Richarlison's getting involved, and it's all boiled over at last.
This is the Michael Oliver decision, and you know why maybe he won't, Nick, book Declan Rice here, because the game's over at 4-1 and the scoreline. If it's a yellow card, it's a yellow card. The reaction, bit of a nonsense really. You know, the skirmishes amongst the players too late in the day because the result is confirmed. However, Declan Rice, Paul Timmins back, and he's finally decided to, after a bit of time here, to make the right call and yellow card the excellent England midfielder.
clearly something had gone on, because Rice banged into him, then had a word with Xavi Simons as he lay on the ground. Now, the Tottenham players then came in to kind of defend the player lying prone on the ground. Clearly something had happened earlier.
It was the left knee. It was a trailing left knee. He didn't mean it, Declan Rice. It just brushed the back of Xavi Simons' head. But Mourinho taking some acclaim.
Yeah, Van Eyre coming on. And here's the other change. And Christian Mosquera is going to come on to replace Piero Nkapie. And yes, it's been a very assured first Premier League start for him. And Mosquera, who might have been picked in his place, comes on. He said, and well, Harry, you said no Gabriel, no problem, and it's been proved right.
Yeah, Nkapie's been really comfortable at the back. Mosquera's on. I'm surprised actually that change has been made, because just as that whole little skirmish was going on, Riccardo Calafiori went down on the ground and he looked as though he was dealing with a bit of cramp. Now, he's been on international duty, had a problem, been sent back by the Italian national team, so I'm surprised that he's been left on. But yeah, on Nkapie, I mean, you know, he's played in big games on the continent for his club, for his country. You know, he's not the kind of player that you'd be throwing in with that element of the unknown. I think people often talk about how difficult it is to come to the Premier League and to slot in, but when you've got that big game experience, even at his young age, I think, you know, Mikel Arteta was right to have the faith in him, and he's done a great job.
Plenty of time to chat about this result, which will, unless something truly startling happens in the next minute and a half plus added time, will be an Arsenal victory on the way here on BBC Radio London. This is brought under control by Calafiori, goes all the way back to Raya, who keeps it alive, and first touch of Mosquera since coming on. Calafiori uses Rice. Rice gets boxed in on that corner of the pitch. Calafiori has to take it away from Palhinha, but a skill from Calafiori, which has gone down well. That Tottenham end is emptied pretty substantially. It will be at least 33 years with just one win in the Premier League on this ground.
Another visit, not a happy hunting ground for this set of Tottenham players this afternoon and their fans. And I think as well, you know, with Man U playing tomorrow evening against Everton, Spurs would find themselves with a home victory there, 10th in the league, Nick.
Yeah, they've
looks a little bit different, doesn't it, the start of the season?
They've fallen away, Spurs, after what was a pretty competent start of the campaign. This will be a first away defeat, of course, for Tottenham in the Premier League this season. What a place to get it. Now, Romero has given this away to Madueke. The white shirts are swarming back into their own half of the field. Timber takes over, gets it wide to Saka, 3 in the box. Saka tries to funnel this forward for Madueke, but it's run away from danger, and Simons is going to lead the charge. 4 more minutes to add on here. Arsenal 4-1 up. Here's Eze, spins away from his man, then tries to pop it between Palhinha's legs as well. He's been won back by Eze. What an afternoon he has had here at the Emirates Stadium. The first Arsenal hat-trick scorer since 1978. The Olays are coming out. If that is ever going to drive a Tottenham supporter towards Caledonian Road Station or Arsenal or Highbury and Islington, it's things like this. You can't get into Holloway Road, it's closed.
I think as well, Nick, we only spoke off air, didn't we, about soldiers and artists. And boy, Eze, he's painted some pictures, hasn't he, in this North London derby.
You can guarantee that some of those Arsenal goals will be watched again and again and again. 4 minutes to add on. Yeah, we're in the minute. We played for one of those 4 minutes now. It's a free kick to Arsenal down the right. And there's going to be another change for Arsenal. Is that? It's Michael Oliver's favourite Arsenal youngster, Miles Lewis-Skelly, who's going to come on. The man who was sent off by Mike Oliver against Wolves. Calafiori is coming off, as Harry was mentioning. He had a bit of cramp. Lewis-Skelly is going to enter the fray for his 8th substitute appearance of this Premier League season. Calafiori makes fairly stately progress off the pitch. And this is the free kick. He's going to get a great ovation, isn't he? This free kick for Arsenal is level with the edge of the Spurs penalty area down the right. Madueke and Saka over it. Keep saying this about Saka's free kicks wide on the right, that he's not going to go for goal, and he's gone for goal both times. This time it's played short to Madueke. Saka gets away down the right. Here's the cross. It's awkward, headed away by Johnson, and then rolled all the way back to Raya. More people starting to head away from the Emirates. The Arsenal fans know the points are secure. They know they're going 6 points clear at the top of the table. In goes Palhinha. This is collected by Wanyeri into Timber, corner of the Spurs box. They're still hammering away, looking for a 5th, Arsenal. And it goes out of play for a throw-in. We've still got another minute or so left. Arsenal on the front foot, having battered Tottenham for most of the game. There was a brief moment when Richarlison scored from halfway, when it looks as though Spurs might be able to make a game of it. But it has been the Eberechi Eze show. He's been defying gravity, and no one is going to bring him down. I think that's more or less what they wanted me to say.
You got that in brilliant, Nick.
I was supposed to, do you know what? I was supposed to sing the first bit and do the second bit in a Scottish accent, but I had to make some pretty big editorial decisions on the hoop. I'm going to get absolutely torn apart on the breakfast show on Thursday, by the way, for a lack of commitment to the cause. Aaron Paul has very high standards.
I want to know why we've got to wait till Thursday's breakfast show.
Well, because they like they draw it out like a long thin blade. They really do, yeah. And I'm afraid, well, it may come up tomorrow, I suppose. Aaron Paul's breakfast show from 6 a.m. on BBC Radio London tomorrow, Monday to Thursday. Here comes Spurs in what are the dying embers. We're into the 5th minute. We're only supposed to have 4, and that'll do. That'll definitely do for Arsenal. It won't do for Tottenham. You can't lose North London derbies 4-1. It's just not something that the fans will put up with. But the Arsenal supporters who stayed are on their feet, and there's going to be a tremendous ovation for the whole team. But the star of the show has been Eberechi Eze, who was Harry Simi, who has mentioned a couple of times, has taken a little bit of criticism in an Arsenal shirt so far this season after his £60 million move to Crystal Palace. But there can be no criticism and no fault in the way he's played it today. 3 fantastic goals, none of them from set pieces, all of them with great artistry. And it is his contribution that has taken this North London derby away from Tottenham. He scored in the first half and then twice in the second, and he will get an amazing ovation as he makes his way off the field. Those Spurs players cannot get out of there quick enough, and there aren't very many Spurs fans for them to thank away on the far side. But tonight is going to be all about Arsenal going 6 points clear at the top of the Premier League, beating their North London rivals, and watching the emergence of a new Arsenal star. Eberechi Eze with his 2nd, 3rd and 4th Arsenal Premier League goals. The first Arsenal hat-trick scorer in a North London derby, we think, since Alan Sunderland in 1978. All kinds of history made by the Gunners today. For Tottenham, it's been yet another dreadful evening out this end of the Seven Sisters Road. Full time at the Emirates. Arsenal 4, Tottenham 1.
Total Sport Live.
BBC Radio London.
Right, well, we'll bring you the goals that have decided this game in a second, but let's just enjoy from an Arsenal perspective the ovation that these Arsenal supporters are giving their team, because, Bradley, as you've already highlighted a couple of times, it's beating Tottenham's great, scoring hat-tricks are great, but the Premier League table makes very, very good reading. Who stumbled yesterday? Everybody. Have Arsenal stumbled today? No, they haven't.
No. This was so impressive. Some may argue 30 minutes, the stopping, the delaying, the frustrating tactics that Spurs offered in that first half hour kept them in the game. But once Arsenal broke through, and the brilliance of Eze, there was only one winner here. This was a comprehensive performance. This is a comprehensive scoreline, and what it is such a statement victory here for Arsenal in this North London derby, where I would suggest come May 2026 there's every chance, for the first time for a while, Nick, that they're going to get their hands back on that Premier League trophy.
Well, Harry Symeou's been alongside us all through the afternoon. I know you're going to go downstairs and hear what the managers had to say, but from an Arsenal perspective, this couldn't have gone much better, could it?
No, it couldn't. It's just what the doctor ordered. You come back from an international break and there's always a little bit of uncertainty. You know, many players went on international duty, so many fitness concerns for Arsenal, and I know Tottenham are in a similar boat. But for Arsenal to come here today and do what they've done and put Tottenham to the sword the way they have, they had to be patient in the early stages of the game. They had to keep plugging away, keep playing their game, and trust that that was going to work. And in the end, once they got the breakthrough, there was only really one winner. Richarlison's goal, outstanding, but Eberechi Eze, the star of the show. All three finishes outstanding, especially finishes 2 and 3 for me, where the goalkeeper was nowhere near them. And I think I mentioned it earlier, you know, there are a few Arsenal fans that have been asking, you know, whether he's at that level. You know, he's been great for Crystal Palace, but is he a top tier player? And he's shown that today. There isn't a game to turn up in more than this one, and for the fans, that's exactly what you want. You've built that connection for life now, and I think for Eberechi Eze, it's a massive confidence boost. There's been times where I've looked at him and I've felt that he needed to drift a little bit more rather than staying in those central areas, because opposition sides have shut the channel off into him and he ends up being a bit of a passenger. But today he stuck to those positions, he stuck to what his managers asked of him, and when the opportunities came along, he had the quality to take them, and that'll give him belief in himself, but also belief in what Mikel Arteta's asking him to do on a weekly basis. It's a great day for Arsenal given the results yesterday, and it's not the end of a really big week for Arsenal, but it's certainly the best possible start to it.
Let's remember, Arsenal haven't got a striker as well, and again, I suppose it's days like that when you ask the Trossards and the Marinos and the Ezes of this world, those attacking players who do get picked, they have to contribute. And once again, if previously the criticism was Eze hadn't contributed enough in that regard, can't be said of today.
No, and that was the argument in seasons before now, wasn't it? You know, with Havertz injured and others, you know, these players have to step up, but there's a depth to this Arsenal squad. The balance, Nick, within it is beautiful. You know, the centre half in Cappy, as we mentioned at the end of commentary, coming in and replacing, you know, the injured Gabriel is such an enormous player for Arsenal, but the Britishness as well within this Arsenal side, with young academy players and talent and potential there. Eze this afternoon, and Declan Rice, did we think, Nick, just up the road at the London Stadium a few years ago, I know he won the Europa Conference for West Ham and we see him develop there, that Declan Rice would get to this level of football, become this consistent a player. He is quite simply the heartbeat of this Arsenal side. He is an amazing footballer. He runs 13k every single game. He rarely gives a pass away. He's honest, he's committed. His arrival at Arsenal, I think, has transformed this team. You know, you talk about some teams needing certain players to stay fit. Arsenal certainly need him to stay fit, because if he does, and he never gets injured, mind, he never gets injured, no. Ever, Declan Rice, he's going to be the man, for, I think, in 2026 that will become and earn, and deservedly so, legendary status, and become such an important player for this Arsenal side in coming seasons.
Harry, we spent quite a lot of our build-up to this game talking about the absence of Gabriel and the elevation of Piero Nkapie. You said that, you know, he didn't put a foot wrong Does that mean he now, in your view, is the Gabriel placeholder until he comes back?
Yeah, I think he always was. I think that was the idea behind the signing. Obviously, Arsenal have been really clever, by the way, with the way that they've brought in Capier in, because he's here on a loan deal with not even an obligation to buy, but there is an agreement in place already, and that's to do with PSR and all the rest of it. But Arsenal really wanted this player. They wanted to make sure that they could make it happen, and given the big spend already in the summer, this was the way to do it. Be creative and get him in, because on that right hand side, with Mosquera, with Ben White's ability to play right centre back, with Jurrien Timber's capability to drop in there as well, Arsenal were well stocked. But you always worried that when Gabriel went down, they didn't have that natural left-sided centre half to come in and do the job. Kivior did it last season, but he wasn't quite at that level. He had a decent run of games, but you never really got the feeling that you could trust him over a 10-15 game period. Gabriel's absence is a blow, there's no doubt about that. He's one of Arsenal's most important players at both ends of the pitch, but to have someone come in and slot in like that under these circumstances in this game, having travelled to South America, by the way, for international duty, and having only returned on Thursday, to put in a performance like that, I think is outstanding, and he deserves all the credit in the world. Obviously, the plaudits will go to Eze, and Marino will get a lot of praise for his admirable performance up front. Trossard was great as well, as was Rice, as Bradley mentioned. But for me, the way he's just slotted in, that is a microcosm of Arsenal's strength in depth right now. You look at it and you go, that's an example. No one was fearful of Nketiah playing. I suppose from a Tottenham perspective, there was probably a little bit of a feeling of, well, maybe this could be our way in, this could be our way of exposing Arsenal, but they had no such luck, and Nketiah, I think, deserves all the praise in the world for that.
He's done very well, hasn't he, Bradley?
Yeah, he was excellent. But I think probably that and therein lies the most crucial 2 points, in my opinion, that Harry has made there. Firstly, the recruitment. Not in one transfer window, probably in 3, 4, 5 transfer windows. Nick, not average players, damn good players. The best. Raya, top goalkeeper. Nketiah, a centre-half that can come in and play in a North London derby because of his quality and experience. Declan Rice, I keep going on about him. Eze, however much he cost. Trossard from Brighton, and others, and others, and others, and others, and others. I could go on and on and on. And the patience in the manager as well, to sort of build and assemble this Arsenal machine. Nick, I don't even think it's going to be just this season where they're finally going to pick trophies up. It could even be an era of dominance potentially for Arsenal in seasons to come, because of the depth, because of the age, because of the potential even in some of the quality youngsters that are on the cusp of this Arsenal squad as well. You can sense the excitement and the way that it's been transformed in a way, I think, across 24 months. If you're an Arsenal fan, they sense, I'm not saying that they're at the level of the Invincibles, far from it, the Galactico players that they had in that best ever Arsenal team under Arsene Wenger, but they're more than heading in the right direction, Nick, aren't they?
I just want to say, on the recruitment, and the recruitment's been outstanding, you're absolutely right, Bradley, but I think Arsenal have found this sweet spot, right? You look at Chelsea, for instance, they go and bring in sort of 18, 19, 20-year-olds. Arsenal don't do that. Arsenal go and sign 21, 22, 23-year-olds who have got a lot of experience. Like Christian Mosquera came in this summer. He played 36 games in La Liga last season for Valencia. So he's not a kid that hasn't played football. Nketiah has been an invincible with Bayer Leverkusen. Because they're still of relatively young age, it's easy to overlook how much experience they've got. And I'd imagine that if Mikel Arteta's got a checklist in terms of...
They're proven, Harry, aren't they?
Exactly. If he's going through the list and he's looking to tick off as many boxes as possible, it's be young, it's be athletic, it's be passionate about the game, it's be experienced, it's having to have experiences that, you know, where you've come through difficult times. Look at Riccardo Calafiori. If you go back 5 years ago, there were reports in Italy that his knee had completely blown out and he was never going to play at the highest level again. He was loaned out to FC Basel in Switzerland by Roma. So, you know, sometimes I think Arteta likes a player that's been through that kind of adversity. He feels like that equips them for what they're going to need when they come to this league and play at this level.
Harry, I know you're going to go to us and talk to the managers. Come back and tell us what they've said if you can before 7 o'clock. But just on the fact that, as you said, and we're going to talk about what Tottenham are going to do against PSG on Wednesday in a few moments, Bradley. But just to you, Harry, on Bayern Munich, obviously there'll be a huge swell of positivity surrounding Arsenal. They've got to take on Bayern Munich next. How much does he shuffle the pack, do you think? How much does he imperil what has been a brilliant start in the Champions League as well?
Yeah, and I think Mikel Arteta's a big believer in momentum. He won't completely change the team, but he might make 2-3 changes depending on how some players recover from today's game, of course. He might also be saying, look, let's get through this week. I'm going to run you into the ground, boys, I'm sorry. But then the following week, we do have a midweek game as well, but maybe that's the one that you rotate a little bit here against Brentford. I mean, they're no slouches either. You can't take any game in this league for granted, but I think Mikel's belief in momentum is going to mean that he's going to probably make less changes than I would if I was in charge. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see because you want to keep that feel-good factor, don't you?
And then you go to Chelsea.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, again, without wishing to go to you, Bradley's literally wincing. The prospect of winning there and that gap to Chelsea, at any rate, getting larger is remarkable. Well, Harry, go and chat to the managers. We're going to talk about Tottenham in a minute. Bradley and I are going to have a stiff drink and prepare ourselves for this. First, if you have been out and about today, maybe doing some Christmas shopping, and you haven't heard about the big headlines from here at the Emirates Stadium, Eberechi Eze has stolen the show and scored his first hat-trick for the Gunners. Crosses early, headed away by Danso. Only as far as Eze, edge of the penalty area. Brilliant, trickles down right, and a wonderful goal! Eberechi Eze with an absolute beauty to double Arsenal's lead. 4 minutes to half-time. He picked the ball up on the edge of the box, but there was a lot to do. But he swiveled those hips and danced past 2 Tottenham players before slotting it under Vicario. This North London derby is now firmly in the red corner. It is Arsenal 2, Tottenham 0. Here come Arsenal again, and here's Eze again. It's 3. Arsenal have scored within 35 seconds of the restart, and it's Eberechi Eze who struck his second of the game. Tottenham cut to ribbons down their right. It was played into Eze, who fired it low past Vicario. There is now a lot of daylight between Tottenham and Arsenal in this North London derby, and all the King's horses and all the King's men might not put Tottenham back together again. Arsenal 3, Tottenham 0. Marino in a central position turns this forward to Trossard, who raced into the box. Across the face it goes for Eze. 4. Hat-trick for Eberechi Eze against the club he nearly joined in the summer. Tottenham's resistance finally crumples with 15 minutes to go, and what a moment for Arsenal's big money signing in the summer. A hat-trick in his first ever North London derby to re-extend Arsenal's advantage and extinguish Tottenham's hopes. Arsenal 4, Tottenham 1, and one half of North London is raising its hat to Eberechi Eze. Well, those are the headlines from this game, and we have talked about Arsenal in some depth with Eze's hat-trick, 6 points clear at the top of the Premier League, and all the rest of it. And it's a moment which we always was going to come around, whatever happened today, Bradley. But how damaging is it for Spurs, I suppose? Losing a North London derby is never good. Losing it in that manner must be really sickening. And to see the player you tried to buy in the summer score 3 of the goals really is brutal.
Yeah, a really tough day, you know, for any perspective, really, if you're associated with Tottenham Hotspur. You know, the manner of the result, the disappointment of the performance for how good Arsenal were. You know, Spurs, for their efforts, stayed in the game initially because they were compact, they were defensive, they were organised. But Arsenal, and once they broke through, barring that spectacular Richarlison effort, Spurs really offered very little this afternoon in this North London derby in an attacking sense. And I think, you know, what the Tottenham fans have got to try and digest here is, you know, where Spurs are at. You know, so they've appointed Thomas Frank. He's come across from Brentford. Is he worthy? Is he deserving of this opportunity of a club of Tottenham's side? Yeah, absolutely. You speak about Mikel Arteta here. He's had 5 or 6 years now at it, Nick. He's been given support, massive support in the recruitment that we've highlighted and spoke about. You know, Tottenham have got a transfer window in January. What are the expectations? What are the aim for the club for the rest of this season? Well, you know, they've got to go and face on Wednesday in Paris the Champions League winner, which is not going to be easy. They've got another London derby on Saturday evening, 8 o'clock at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium against Fulham, who had an important win at home to Sunderland yesterday. So it's not going to get any easier for Tottenham, and they need to somehow get to that transfer window. But notoriously, that is a tough transfer window to purchase and recruit players. Will Thomas Frank be the manager that is going to be supported, you know, enough? Because I think the Tottenham squad need improvements, because these Tottenham fans with that stadium, you know, they've got a newer interest now, haven't they, at boardroom level, Nick?
Yep.
They want top football, and they want a side that's going to be able to come here and compete against the brilliance of this Arsenal side. Now, on their travels, barring today, Tottenham have been really good, and their style and their approach to the away games has most definitely worked. There has been frustration that they've not been perhaps at times expansive enough and more watchable on the eye in the home games. So, you know, this is a work in progress, but I think Thomas Frank does deserve opportunity, but he certainly will know that he's got a lot of hard work with his coaching staff ahead, with this group of players, with the tough run of fixtures that they've got coming up, and ultimately, Nick, he's going to have to win some sort of games, I think.
Yeah, win, exactly, yeah.
And get further points on the board before the new year comes around.
The thing about that approach, Brad, that Tottenham, it's almost as much of a gamble as playing 4 up front, isn't it? Because you are gambling on not conceding. And at the moment that first goal went in, it kind of fell apart.
Yeah, listen, this is a really complex narrative, because 10 games in under Big Ange, they were all or nothing, and it was exhilarating, wasn't it? And the fans were like, well, this is in the traditions of the club, and they loved the Australian manager. And then the wheels sort of a little bit fell off of that. He then went actually cautious and rather defensive himself in the Europa League.
He did.
But look what happened. They went and won a trophy, the first of 15 years. Listen, we don't have the right or the wrong answers, but I'm just putting it out there. Sometimes, you know, it actually isn't, Nick. You know what? It's not about styles of play. You know what it's about sometimes? How good your damn players are. Like Eze proved this afternoon.
Yeah, so
players that can make a difference, that can, out of nothing, out of the ordinary, find that magic and sparkle. That's why we have the great pleasure in this role that we have, and watching them, and we wax lyrical about that, like we did about Eberici Eze this afternoon, because his goals were brilliant, and that's what makes the paying customer pay these prices for these tickets at these Premier League games.
Let us remember, Bradley, that no Solanke, no Maddison, no Kulusevski.
Shouldn't forget that.
It's like having no Kane, no Son, and no Eriksen.
Yeah.
It is the equivalent of, and no one would expect Spurs to do great things without those three.
Absolutely.
Even when in Pochettino in his pomp.
Yeah, no, Kulusevski for me, I think is you know, is desperately needed to come back into this Tottenham lineup, and let's hope that that's going to be very, very quickly. I think he's back in training. I'm not so sure about Solanke. Might have had a bit of a setback, which is a shame.
Yeah.
And obviously James Maddison is going to be longer term, but you know, Spurs just need something from somewhere to help their manager and pick themselves up, because you know, the fixture schedule and the toughness of the games to come is relentless.
Thing is, you know, it goes back to the conversation we had right at the start of the programme, which is this business of Thomas Frank being adept at being the underdog at Arsenal. And of course, if Brentford had come here, lost 4-1, especially if they had loads of injuries, it would just be kind of ridden, wouldn't it? It would be like, well, you know, as they on form, what can you do? It's a different set of football politics when you are Tottenham coming here and getting beaten 4-1, and all of a sudden that kind of potential advantage of having a manager in place who enjoys that underdog status becomes more difficult if you then get walloped. If you win 1-0 off a scruffy set piece goal, then it's fine. Even if you draw 0-0 or maybe if you lose by a goal to nil, but it just doesn't wash if you're Spurs to get beaten like that, does it?
Yeah, and that's, you know, an excellent point that you're making, you know, where, you know, with the approach that was, you know, selected and chosen with a back five today, and Danso alongside Romero, Van der Ven, Spence and Udogie, you know, Spurs, when you play a back five and then your wing backs perhaps don't get out, or you don't have enough possession, you know, we've seen teams, I think, do that, and particularly well. I only have to look south of the river, and Glasgow's Crystal Palace, they play with wing backs. They play a 3-box-3, and you know I'm a fan of Adam Wharton. Boy, he gets on the ball and he dictates the rhythm and controls, and has, you know, spells and moments of possession, and it works excellently. And look at the progress that they've made, FA Cup winners last season, and you know, into the top 4 of the Premier League. Unbelievable. So it's a formation that can work, but Spurs didn't really have that quality today, Nick, did they? They didn't sort of have spells to take the sting out of the game. The way they took the sting out of the game was just really in those first 30 minutes, the stoppages in the game, Nick, the free kicks, the ball going off the pitch, the restarts. Vicario was taking an age, wasn't he? And he got away with not getting a yellow card on kicking the ball out and forward. So, you know, that is not enough, not against an Arsenal team that would have played on many occasions against a deep block. They would have just been, well, no problem.
Yeah.
We probably know what Spurs are likely to do, although there was a slight tweak in the formation. Let's just probe, let's just build, let's just work the ball. We'll get it in there eventually. And they did exactly that. And once they got in front, you know, there was no stopping them.
No, it was extraordinary. And again, you know, when you're building up to the game, here's Eberechi is going to talk to our American television colleagues. I believe that's who they are down there. He's got a microphone in his hand. He's being warmly congratulated by Peter Schmeichel is certainly down there, and it wreathed in smiles, Eberechi, as you can imagine. But again, we built this as an opportunity for some of these Spurs players to just elevate themselves. You know, the Mohamed Kudus, you know, he costs a lot of money from West Ham. Mohamed Kudus, Xavi Simon costs a lot of money as well to be brought to the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. You know, those opportunities, it is very difficult to do it against Arsenal on song at the Emirates Stadium. But if you are going to become a Spurs great and repay that money, you have to do it here, don't you? That's the bottom line. These occasions demand these Spurs players to give everything.
Yeah, and as well, they're new to the club, you know, and you mentioned two Spurs greats who featured across a long time in these North London derbies and were often a key sort of influence and very effective. Son left Spurs in the summer. Harry Kane never replaced him.
No,
Nick.
No, never.
They had nothing of that type here, did they, in this game, in this performance? They were, you know, two sort of players almost that Spurs fans would still sort of harbour and pin some hopes on if they were out there on the field of play. Some of these newer Spurs players are taking time to adapt and getting used to, you know, a new club and a new coach and new ways and modes of thinking, and that often takes time and patience. But that's going to be the really interesting watch as we move into the new year, you know, following Tottenham Hotspur.
Absolutely. They play PSG on Wednesday. It's live here on BBC Radio London. Join us on digital radio. Our coverage from 7 o'clock. We're on air as usual on a Wednesday from 6 o'clock. Almost that's it from us here, but we will take this opportunity to remind you of what happened yesterday here on BBC Radio London. Our extensive coverage of all the other London teams in action yesterday. Some of them did well, some of them didn't do so well. I don't think any of them did as well as Arsenal did today, but we'll start that roundup once again on the south coast with Andy Rowley singing before West Ham threw away a 2-goal lead against Bournemouth. It's fair to say that he's still not singing anymore.
Oh, I do like to be beside the seaside.
Todibo now flicks it on, knocked down by Kelman. Oh, that is absolutely outstanding. Callum Wilson, absolutely brilliant. just wheeled and fired it left-footed into the top corner. And he is coming back to haunt Bournemouth here this afternoon. That was a stunning strike from Callum Wilson, who's doubled his tally, and West Ham lead here at Bournemouth by 2-0. Lovely turn from Unal. Here's the chance, and there's the equaliser. And the roof comes off here at the Vitality Stadium. They spent the whole second half piling the pressure on. West Ham have invited it, and Bournemouth have accepted the invitation. It's Bournemouth 2, West Ham 2, and are West Ham now going to try and hang on for a point when 3 look there's at half time.
I saw a tough game and tough circumstances at the tough circumstances. First half we punished Bournemouth by their mistakes. We took advantage, and second half the momentum changed. It was all about Bournemouth, and we were against the ropes, couldn't go out. We knew it was tough, and the reality showed that it's a tough place to come.
Can you tell us why the momentum changed? Was it behind the substitution of Callum Wilson?
Let's see it better, but maybe, I don't know. We tried to have a little bit more with Thomas, see if we can have the first pass. He didn't quite get there, but I cannot say, look, it's credit for Bournemouth. They were man-to-man, exploiting the wide areas. Always 5 players in our last line. Come on, it's hard to defend. We did it for many spells of the game, but I think the first half we see the goals are on that goal. There's a lot of things that we should have looked and take in consideration to really analyze the game properly.
Igor Thiago back to step up against Verbruggen, away to our left-hand side. Ouattara fouled by Baleba inside the penalty area. Thiago, second highest scorer in the Premier League. Going to Brentford ahead! He does! The Bees are buzzing on the south coast. They've clipped the wings of the Seagulls, and it's Brighton & Hove Albion 0, Brentford 1. Referees allow play on from an offside, and down the right-hand side comes Minte for Brighton & Hove Albion into the Brentford penalty area. Waits for some support. Is he going to need it? Strikes one goalwards. Took a deflection. Hinchelwood with an effort, and it's snuck in from the Brighton & Hove Albion substitute into the path of Hinchelwood. Didn't make the cleanest of contacts, but the local boy Come Good has put Brighton ahead. Brighton & Hove Albion 2, Brentford 1.
Mark Hugh now heads into the Burnley penalty area. Hugh has a chance, pulls it back, and it's rammed in. Chelsea have a second goal. Enzo Fernandez has found the back of the net. Mark Hugh made it. He unselfishly played it into the path of Fernandez, and Chelsea have a 2-0 advantage at Turf Moor. It may well now be settled. Burnley 0, Chelsea 2.
We knew before the match, if you analyze the games that Sunderland they have been playing so far, they have been very, very difficult to play against. Very physical side, well organized. We expected them to come. If they were not able to press so by ourselves, and most of the times I think we built well our attacks.
Kamada waits behind this corner. It's actually a short one to Pino. Pino then rolls it square. Wilson through bodies, comes back, and it's in. And Palace have the lead through Daniel Munoz. Came from a corner that was pulled out to Adam Walton, pinged through bodies to come back to Daniel Munoz.
We couldn't win after the first 2 international breaks this year, so we drew both games and at home. And now we could win here at Wolves, and it was also a difficult situation because a new manager. We could see the stadium was really very enthusiastic, especially at the beginning. Players highly motivated. We didn't know how they play. And I think the players did really well. Dealt with this situation excellently.
Lazy coming on again, Nigerian. He crosses, looking for Jimenez. He scored. Raul Jimenez from 6 yards has put it under roofs, and Fulham lead by a goal to 0.
We knew before the match, if you analyze the games that Sunderland they have been playing so far, they have been very, very difficult to play against. very physical side, well organized. We expected them to come. If they were not able to press so by ourselves, and most of the times I think we built well our attacks.
Just by the near side corner of the 18-yard box, towards the box, drops for Burrow! Will the offside flag go up? It doesn't! QPR have taken the lead, and it's Romain Burrow seizing on the loose ball, beating the offside trap and smashing past Ivar Pandor.
Of course the win is very important, but for me the performance is as well very important, because it means a lot for me to win a game like this with this kind of performance. I think offensively it was our best performance at the start of the season. Very good movement, great opportunity, 26 shots I think, 3.5 each created, so it's a lot. Without penalty it's a lot, and also credit to the players, they deserve this one. And the second thing why I enjoy this game as well is the mental reaction of the players after we concede the first goal and the second goal, because they shot only one time in the first half and they scored, but we stay focused and players stick to the plan and they continue to play like we wanted to play, and the second half it was the same thing.
Oh, and Charlton do have a goal back. It's headed in by Lloyd Jones, and the comeback starts here.
Look, give credit to them for 20 minutes. They were, as good a side as we've seen at this level. Could we have been a bit more aggressive? Could we? We didn't do the things that we do normally, and that's basically what's cost us. We don't defend the box well enough for the first goal. We allow certain things to happen for the second, which kind of kills it, and then they go up a level, and then you really worry when they get 3 and 4 quickly.
Brown out to the left hand side, and Hotspur with the cross into the box and into the back of the net it goes in stoppage time. It is Ashley Fletcher, red shirt surrounding the referee Samuel Allison, but I don't think he's going to change his mind. It is Blackpool who are celebrating in the 4th minute of additional time. 10 men Lake Noy 1, Blackpool 1.
That was a foul under that. Pulls his shirt, kicks him, trips him up. Did we get one decision today? Honestly, I just cannot believe how bad the refereeing performances are. And I don't usually moan. 2 weeks ago, we win a penalty, and the goalkeeper's made no attempt to play the ball. He's pulled Don Ballard back. It's a sending off. It's not the double jeopardy rule. If he goes to play the ball, then you can't have the double jeopardy rule. It's a penalty and it's not a sending off.
Well, that's Richie Wellens ending our roundup of what happened yesterday. If you haven't heard what happened today here at the Emirates Stadium, Arsenal have beaten Tottenham by 4-1 and go 6 points clear at the top of the table. Mind the gap, as they say. Some quotes from the Tottenham manager Thomas Frank speaking to our television colleagues at Sky. I think it's extremely painful, he says. I won't talk away from that. It was a bad performance. It was completely the opposite of what the intention was when we came here. I can only apologise to the fans for the performance. I think no matter if both teams wanted to play for the shirt, they got more out of that than we could get out. When the team went long, we didn't win enough duels. That's exemplified by the 2-0 and the 3-0, where a player went through 2 or 3 players. Bad performance, and we lost. I've seen a lot of character and fight in this team, but we didn't win enough duels. We can call that whatever we want, but we didn't win enough. I tried to play a 5-4-1. I'll always take responsibility as my choice in the end to take the system, and we changed it at half-time. My view is that no matter what formation we play today, we didn't have enough duels or intensity in the decisive moments. It is very difficult to win this football match. That's what Thomas Frank has had to say. You'll hear more from him during Aaron Paul's breakfast show from 6 o'clock here on BBC Radio London. The Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta has been talking to the BBC's Match of the Day. It's a special day for us. We knew the importance of the match and what it means to our fans to be able to give them that joy. It's a beautiful day. He was asked about Eberechi Eze becoming only the 4th ever player to score a hat-trick in the North London derby. That tells you about the difficulty and what he's done today. To be fair, he could have scored 4 or 5. He's a big player who can create magic moments which unbalance a team. We dominated every part of the game. We created massive chances and had lots of actions that were very close to scoring. We stayed
patient, whoever we put in there to do the job for us. This squad has the belief and quality to deliver consistently. We have really good momentum, but you can see how difficult every game in the Premier League. It's a long run. Let's go game by game. Those are the thoughts of Mikel Arteta after Arsenal go 6 points clear at the top of the Premier League, beating North London rivals Chelsea by North London rivals Tottenham by 4-1. They play Chelsea next. It's been a long day. Thanks for listening. More with Aaron tomorrow, and Robert Green is here at 6 tomorrow evening from all of us here on Total Sport. Good night.
BBC Sounds app, on your smart speaker,
Play BBC Radio London.
and on your radio.
The sound of London. BBC Radio London.
BBC News at 7 o'clock. This is Claire Runacres. Ukrainian and American negotiators say they've made good progress at talks in Geneva about Washington's plans to end the war with Russia. The US Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, told reporters it had been the best day for the peace process since President Trump returned to office in January. Speaking alongside him, Ukraine's chief negotiator, Andrei Yermak, agreed that the meeting had been productive.
Ukrainian people deserve and want this peace more than anyone in this planet. We thank our big friends, United States and personal President Trump, and his team to their commitment to bring this peace.
Earlier, President Trump accused Ukraine's leaders of showing what he called zero gratitude for Washington's attempts to end the conflict. Police have released the name of a woman whose death at a property in Swindon on Friday sparked a murder investigation. Sarah Forrester, who worked for a mental health charity, was 55. A 13-year-old girl arrested on suspicion of murder has been released on bail. The former chief economist at the Bank of England, Andy Haldane, has told the BBC that speculation about possible tax rises in Wednesday's budget has damaged the economy. The Transport Secretary, Heidi Alexander, has defended preparations for the budget, insisting it's taken place on shifting economic sands. Speaking to the BBC's Sunday with Laura Kunsberg programme, Mr Haldane said the process had been costly to the economy.
We've had, month upon month of speculation, fiscal fandango, basically. It's caused paralysis among businesses and consumers. It's the single biggest reason why growth has flatlined and has been grounded in the second half of the year. So we need a decisive action that puts to bed any notion of further tax rises, I would say.
Passenger groups and unions have welcomed the news that some rail fares in England will be frozen next year for the first time in 30 years. The Campaign for Better Transport said the move would help households with the cost of living. The train drivers' union ASLEF called it the right decision at the right time. But Neil Middleton from the campaign group Rail Future warns there could be unforeseen consequences.
The other trouble is, what are they going to do to cover the gap with costs? Are they going to cut back train services? We don't want to get into a doom loop of fewer train services or less reliable services, because in that turn, people who got option to travel either don't travel or use other modes like the bus or the car, and the government suddenly finds it's got to fund more and more on the railway.
Football, and in the Premier League, the leaders Arsenal have beaten Tottenham 4-1 at home. Elsewhere, it was a 2-1 win for Aston Villa against Leeds United. In rugby union, England have held off a fight back by Argentina to win 27-23 at Twickenham. At Murrayfield, Scotland beat Tonga by 56 points to nothing. And the weather, a cloudy evening with some showers for Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland and the north of England, drier elsewhere. BBC News, it's 7 minutes.
Dotted on a Sunday.
The sound of.
The sound of where we live.
And all the music you love.
On your local BBC radio station.
It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun this evening on Dawn on Sunday. The number to call if you'd like to join in our natter line is 08000 321 333. Oh my word. I promise you, no more screaming for my mother, but I do want to know what your unique talent is ahead of Unique Talent Day, International Your Unique Talent Day, which is tomorrow. What is your unique talent? I don't care what it is, whatever it might be. If it's singing in the shower, I'm singing in the shower. Yes, I'm singing in the shower. My neighbors are banging the walls, but I don't care, 'cause I'm singing in the shower. You've got to sing, obviously. If that's your unique talent, please display it for me. Doesn't have to be singing. We've had a joker on this evening, and we've had a tongue twister. Sorry, I said no more, screaming for my mother. But one scene never forgotten. And if it's running, wow, go on, tell me about it. It's your unique talent. That's what we're after this evening. 08000 321 333. What is Britain's unique talent? Oh!